always a chance that the 60 level comes into play. So I'm going to have this one on the, I think I'm just going to have this on the back burner today. That if I see this dip at open, hold 64, start trending up, I'm going to be looking for a long in Viking. Those post-earning plays, day 2, day 3, we keep talking about them over and over again. I'll be looking at Ford today. Regardless of whatever happens with Dexcom, maybe it'll be worth a lot. It doesn't even matter where it goes. It'll probably be worth something for a trade on Monday. Ford is going to be on my radar. It's flat today, not doing anything. But hey, it's day 2, big gap down, caught a little bit of a bid. You got an obvious level at 1150. That's going to be in play. Like there's 1150 previous support. 1150 held the afternoon. Okay, so if it's not breaking 1150, I'm looking continuation short. I don't want to wait till it breaks $11 there on Ford. And I think Viking is just the opposite of that trade. Instead of a gap down continuation, this one's a gap and run and then a continuation day today. Doesn't mean it has to work, but hey, if it's going to hold that 64 level on Viking, it certainly looks pretty good to me. So that's what you got to do. Like these types of names do that good extra volume day after earnings, 2-3 days after earnings, and then it's very likely to revert back. That's when you want to strike as a day trader. Because most of the times, you're just going to be trading what's always doing volume, like the Nvidias of the world, the Teslas of the world. The days that you stray away from that are going to be days like today or yesterday with things like Ford, things like Dexcom we'll throw in there, things like waste management, things like that Viking Therapeutics.
Sorry about that.
I keep hinting at waste management, so because I want to.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about waste management. But no, that VKTX chart that Michael Noss was talking about, we discussed this. I really like this. I haven't really, again, earnings day 2, right? So wasn't really looking at this last night as much. Again, there's a lot. I mean, VKTX is the top of the list on earnings day 2s, but not my main in-play focus name. But after kind of seeing this, a little bit of a breakout that we had. No, I definitely agree. If we can kind of pull back into some of yesterday's levels, even the earnings reaction high that we held yesterday around 64 today, I want to look for a continuation. This is like a breakout of trend resistance, right? Nice little trending down from the beginning of the year, breaking out now. Let's see if we can push some higher levels. I do like that. Look for a quick Momo trade. Now, I'm sure there's bigger picture going on here as well, but being the day trade, I'm just going to be looking for a quick scalp intraday. Potentially. Yeah. Let's go. All right.
So, only because I know you're not bringing this one up just yet.
All right, cool.
No, it's just because it's like the second time I've said waste management. A couple people in the chat are like, what's going on with waste management? It's just about.
If you look at the chart, it's like staring at you.
Yeah, it is. I don't think, sometimes things aren't very complicated. That's what I'm basically getting at. And I'll put up a Nike chart, or I can put up, there's so many charts you can put up that are like this. Okay, so not good, but look where you're at now. The 200, the 199, the 200 level, big support. Obviously, it's trying to bounce off that support. The 200 period moving average, if it breaks this bottom, is a good $5 away to the downside. Now, obviously, it's support till it's not at a level like this. But heck, it's also going to, the other way to look at it too is, I'm pretty sure it's, it might not be SSR today. I thought it was SSR. No, it's not. It's not SSR today. So even if it does bounce, it's not going to be a short sell restriction, but it could get a relief rally. But if you lose a bid like that on a stock that's already trending down, I think it does look spicy. It's exactly why, Nike, as I said, is on my radar, because the last little bit here, it just keeps on holding the same low after the earnings, whatever. Like I want to give an adjective to it, but when I keep thinking about Dexcom, like anything did on earnings is what Dexcom did, but you just keep topping off the 71. Well, what if we lose $71 on Nike? And that's sort of my thought. You get a big level like that, and you want to take a shot on a break. They don't always fall like an absolute rock when things like that happen, but every now and then, and I'm pulling up ARM here. Now, ARM was a big reversal. Granted, I understand that. But ARM at 150, when it lost that bid eventually, like it's not as big a level as waste management, but support, resistance, when it lost 150 yesterday, that was a clean $10 move down. The fact that it reversed $14, I'll admit to be very shocked by. But when these flat bottom breaks happen, as a day trader, you can find yourself with an opportunity to get into a trade with a tight risk, relatively speaking, to a huge potential gain. That's why we like levels like that, because you can take 3 of them, 1 of them can work, and you're making money. That's the idea behind these types of levels when they eventually go. The bounce, a lot of people are on the bounce. But when everyone's bouncing off the same level and it breaks down, sometimes you get a big win.
Yeah, no, I speaking of the breakdowns, I guess we can talk a little bit about that waste management. But yeah, you kind of mentioned it already. Support, earnings day 2, strong flush, missed on earnings, both on revenue and EPS here. So looking for a continuation move today, just support and resistance. Let's see if we can hold this as support. The 200 level, nice little rounded number as well. A little bit psychological. It's shown up on the chart before as both a little bit of resistance or support. But yeah, no, definitely going to be watching some of that low at 198.88. Apparently, we're holding that in the pre-market right now. But before that, we're going to go to Dara for upgrades and downgrades.
Some interesting names here. A lot of recent earnings names on the upgrades and downgrades side today, including Lockheed Martin. They reported earlier this week in getting an upgrade from Deutsche Bank. We have DoorDash up almost 2% after this upgrade from Redburn Atlantic. Duolingo getting an upgrade from BofA Securities, up more than 3%. We also have Norfolk Southern, which did report earlier this week as well, with a TD Cowen upgrade. On the downgrade side, WW, formerly known as Weight Watchers here, getting a Morgan Stanley downgrade. Dexcom, discussed this one definitely earlier today. Disappointing guidance, getting this one a downgrade here from JP Morgan Chase after their earnings yesterday. We also have Tractor Supply Company getting a downgrade from Telsey Advisory Group. And last but not least, BJ's Restaurants getting a downgrade here by the Benchmark Company, guys.
So we might not trade Lockheed Martin as a day trader. You see a $500 stock, maybe that's not your cup of tea, but this is a weekly chart on Lockheed. Now I'm going to zoom it in because you don't care what happened 15 years ago. But when you zoom this one in on the weekly and see where when this broke 5 hundo, like this is a big level. Trending into it, conflict is unfortunately not going anywhere. We were talking about that before we came on air. It's like you look at this, you look at Raytheon and then breaking out, and does it seem that complicated? So this is when it broke 50, and that was that big day on the weekly. Like this is it breaking 480. Like look at the consolidation up, the break, and then the consolidation after breaking the high and then taking out that top. I can wish all I want that I had seen this chart that day. Obviously I didn't, but I'll tell you this. When you see that kind of a setup on a bullish looking chart, that is like for a swing idea, that's like a 481 break with like $9 to $10 worth of risk down here on a $500 stock. $10 risk on a $500 stock on a gorgeous looking chart. Maybe throw in some slippage, but wow, wee wah. And Raytheon's going as well. Unfortunately for Boeing, they don't get any of the credit for having defense business. Otherwise, I'd say maybe they could go in the meantime. And as we already saw what happened with Paris. We know what's going on around the world. These stocks are insane.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that look. I've been kind of watching this LMT since earnings day 1 as well. And yesterday we had that RTX also giving us a little bit of a similar kind of trade. Not the same, but it's definitely rhyming in step with what the sector is doing here. But LMT on a multi-day run post earnings. Look at this. 1, 2, 3 days in a row. We are just trending up. Sure, the intraday, you can't just, it's not as clean, right? You can't, like if I'm trying to get a long in here, it's a $500 ticker. It doesn't kind of come back until much later on in the day. But the bigger picture, it's definitely been bidding up and closing higher, making higher highs and higher lows throughout or since post earnings. We're going to be looking for something similar here on both RTX. RTX today is earnings day 2, and yesterday, if you're watching it, held VWAP quite well. The question becomes, is it going to continue holding that VWAP today? Are those VWAP buyers going to sustain this ticker or continue to sustain this ticker? Are we going to close higher? But what I'm going to be watching for sure is the prior day high right here as well. All right, so I got to put my alert on my different chart there. But yeah, 115.80 is prior day high on RTX. Let me go put that alert in now. But yeah, those again, LMT with the upgrade as well maybe could be giving us a little bit more oomph to the upside there on some of these defense sector tickers.
Who was that handsome man we just saw in the corner there? Probably ready to report on the futures, I guess.
All right, guys, 54.41. That's where we closed out yesterday on the ES September contract. Literally from the top over here where we printed about 57.10, 57.12 to the bottom that we made yesterday, almost 5%. If you were to look at that same area on the NQ, it's 10%. So if we hold up here, we're looking at 5,500 as resistance. To the downside, let's use the overnight low, 54.45 as support.
If you haven't done so yet, make sure you go down to the description of this video right now. Hit the link to the watch list, enter your email address. It's super easy and free every single day from us to your inbox with everything you need to know on it daily. Let's talk about a few things here. I mean, tech leading right now. Back to the upside. I was just noting. I mean, the Qs, there's Nvidia, there's AMD, all of the chips. We'll get into Apple and Microsoft in a second here, but let's focus on semiconductors here. First off, we had that huge reversal out of the gate yesterday. Nvidia bottoms at 106, 105 area. We rip all the way back up $10 in a straight line. We're up 3% here this morning for NVDA.
Yeah, it's been tough for the semis after the Biden administration announced possibly new embargoes to be added onto those advanced GPUs and some AI models. Separately, SK Hynix are going to invest about $6.8 billion in a new semiconductor plant in Korea. That is one of NVIDIA's largest suppliers. It's said to be, one of the world's top 3 memory makers, along with Micron. High bandwidth memory HBMs, really important for AI applications, Brendo.
You and I were just talking about the overall market and the state of this current pullback. Wanted to highlight, if you go to chart of the NASDAQ, or this is the Qs, obviously ETF, volume at the bottom here, or where we are right now, if you want to call it the bottom. We might not be at the bottom yet, but volume picking up here, guys, on the way down, which could be a sign of a few buy orders sitting down here waiting.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seemed like that yesterday. A little bit, if you saw that bottom. So let's start with a daily chart here on NVIDIA, because the first thing that's obviously going to be noticed is we're underneath that 117 area support. I say area support because on a daily, those are your wick bottoms. You had a lot of the body up at about 118. Like, you kept closing down at the 118 area, and the 50-period moving average on the daily sits just above the 118. So it's hard not to look at this same price area. I have the line at 117, but like 117.5 into 118. This is still a resistance spot. It was previous support that turned to resistance on a V-shaped recovery that ripped everyone's faces off. We never actually breached it. So it's hard to be super bullish on NVIDIA unless you're breaking out back above that level, or maybe bouncing off the previous close, or bouncing off the wipeout bottom. Like, that's what I'm going to notice. And so until we do that, I still feel like that area is kind of like a fade zone, like a failed break of 117. That's a dark pool wick. NVIDIA didn't just tank $7. A fail above the 117 looks like a pop and fade. And it's not just NVIDIA. I look over at AMD, and as impressive as the rally was, let me pull up the daily chart here for you guys. As impressive as the rally was on AMD, you still, this doesn't look very good. Like, AMD is actually obviously a lot worse than NVIDIA. Like, you lose the 200-period moving average. You hang out there for a day trying to get a green candle in there, and then we broke down. So you're underneath the previous that previous low, and that's what we rebounded from yesterday. Like, getting underneath this May low, or I guess it was it was a May low, at about 144 on a closing basis, and that's where we're rallying from. Okay, well, we tried to get back to it in the afternoon. Didn't, and then retested the bottom. So just like NVIDIA, until AMD is breaking out 145, that looks like a pop and fade as well. And the shorts were great yesterday, off of the open, and then if you had them late. And until proven otherwise, at least for those two names, it's hard for me to get away from that notion. So if we're breaking out 145, there's no fighting AMD. It's up 2%. It's done that before. But man, if we never break these highs, it just feels like a pop and fade on both of those names. NVIDIA seems a little bit closer to the level than AMD does. When you pull it out in that higher time frame, I don't feel like we've broken away from it. And if we do break away, there's a ton of upside in both of these names, especially, I mean, AMD breaking here has, like, the first gap is $7. And it did that in one day a couple of days ago. So you don't have to be early. Look at yesterday's rally off the bottom. You didn't have to be early catching a bottom in Nvidia, AMD, ARM, whatever. It doesn't even matter what name you want to talk about. You got it halfway through and you're absolutely killing it if you got that. So allow for confirmation here. I know I don't want to sound bearish when we had that big rally off the bottom, but if you're still underneath the same levels as a trader, got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I'm definitely going to be watching a lot of the semis today after what happened yesterday. I'm just like mainly focused here on SMH. You can see kind of just looking left, this is an hourly chart here, and SMH right here, prior lows at that 234. We did a little bit of a wick dance off of that, right on top of that 530. Yesterday's day low at 230.81 there. This low right here, you can see a little bit of a wicking action as well. So there was some buying pressure there. It was resistance before, right underneath that 230, and then a little bit of support showed up before and showing up once again. So a little bit of a level right there at that 230. Let's see how much of a bounce we can get here. Something else I do want to consider, if we are going to bounce, we have been selling off quite aggressively over the past week or so. Here is just taking a measurement off of this break right here, taking it off that close, being like, all right, cool. If we can somehow make it up to here, 245s, 246s, can we actually break trend, or are we just bouncing within this downtrend that we've been having since, what is this? I'd say, you know what, we started a strong sell here, so July 11th, a little bit of a downtrend since then. We attempt a push at those highs, can't really make it too far past, a little bit of a lick grab, a little bit of a failure to follow through, and aggressive selling since then back into some of these prior support or resistance turn support levels here. So it should be interesting to watch how far this SMH can get, along with some of the chips as well. We've talked about Nvidia, we talked about AMD, Intel as well. I know that Intel's being sold off quite aggressively, and a couple days ago we were talking about the anchored on Nvidia that's been holding since prior earnings. So that bid, those longs were definitely in the money, or held that up quite nicely here. This is the anchored volume weighted average price since this prior earnings on May 22nd. So you can see how clean, or relatively clean, that bid showed up over and over again until about the middle of this month right here, where we started getting a little choppy in and around that 120 level, and now we're trading lower back into some of these horizontal support and resistance levels just underneath this 110 level, and we did an aggressive bounce off of that. So curious to know what we do with that 120. We're only about 4.5 points away from there. Do we do some more of that chop? It is the end of the week, right, Niels? And we have been having quite a red week here. If you do take a look at the weekly, we have started to break some structure. I'm going to be looking for a potential follow through, but again, being the end of the week, not expecting too much here.
Liberal. Yeah. Huh. All right, let's go back to crypto land here. BTC back upside once again. 67,000 coming back into play after we had that pullback from 68.5. I just pulled up Coinbase, but I mean, all of these kind of looking the same here. A nice gap. Yeah, that's 11%. Doesn't look like it, but 11% right now for coin back higher this morning. Some of the mining names following suit here.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting week, Breno, because there's a crypto conference in Nashville. Donald Trump as well as JD Vance expected to be there to tout their crypto platform. So be on the lookout for that. Specifically, though, with respect to the ETFs, the inflows, the outflows, surprising to me that BTC far outweighed net inflows versus Ethereum. You'd think that, the spot ETF for ETH is here and it's going to get some tailwind, not really. So BlackRock IBIT was the only spot ETF yesterday to record inflows about $70.5 million. The net positive was basically decreased a little bit by the net outflows from GBTC, but BTC's dominance right now over Ethereum looking good. 3-month highs, 56.6%. Showing a preference for Bitcoin, Brendo, over Ethereum. Yeah,
if you, look at any of the ETFs, there was a big move after the close yesterday. BTC made a late day rally yesterday. So some of these ETFs looking a lot like this late in the day. And then we get the follow through this morning, just 4% here for just 4% for IBIT.
Yeah, so look, coin's 5%, Bitcoin doing pretty well above the 67 level. I feel a little bit better about these. Maybe just go over to Bitcoin. And partially because when you look at the rally, you're holding the top end of the range. There is a decent chance for a break of 67.5. This is just a 15-minute chart. And if you do get that break and then a retest of like 68, 68.5, I look at what the equity names have the potential to do. Like Coinbase pulled heavily back in like everything else, did a wick bottom in front of 225, and now it's kind of holding above 240. I don't see anything that's telling me, it's if we get that push, and as long as Bitcoin holds 67, that coin looks bad. It's Mara that usually interests me a little bit more. And Mara, I don't think it looks different on the chart. I just look at the tops yesterday, very clean. It was kind of a lower high at that 21. So you get this $21 area, maybe 10, 15 cents underneath, and now you're holding above it. With Mara, this feels like a simple over-under. And if you hold that 21 area at the open and can start trending up, there's a breakout of the high, there's dip buys off 21, and as long as BTC holds up, I think you're good to go. Now, if we get to 23, I have said I feel the same way about 23 in theory as before. 23 was a monster resistance level. I don't think we get there today. And it was support for like a week. When we lost it, it accelerated down. So if we bounce off 21, which also happens to be the 50-period moving average, talk about areas of confluence here, you get to that 23, whether or not it's today or next week, I'd probably be looking for a fade at least on that day. But first thing first, that 21 level, I like you. You hold that at the open, and I'm going to like Mara. Question I'm asking myself is that Viking Therapeutics, do I not like that more? And I haven't come to a distinct decision between these two because I think it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, no, I like the look here on Bitcoin now. I did pull it up here, testing pretty close to some of these prior highs here, but take a look at this slight downtrend off of that high, just shy of that 74. So in order to look for, I guess, some strength here, some real strength, I'm going to be watching this kind of trend line here, maybe showing up in and around 71,000. So yeah, we still got a little bit of a ways to go to kind of push some of those levels and really maybe potentially start accelerating. What is the volume looking like? That's another question I'm asking. Are we expanding volume into some of those levels as of right now? Doesn't necessarily look like it. Volume's been kind of dwindling a little bit from some of those prior highs here. You can see that the highest volume kind of on that push towards that initial test of that 74 area here on Bitcoin, and volume's been gradually kind of getting less and less as we trade sideways and make lower highs on Bitcoin. So yeah, let's see. We've had some strength over the past couple of days here. See if that kind of continues going into the end of the week. But yes, definitely some tickers on watch like Coinbase. Coinbase again, not really doing too much in terms of the higher time frame here. This is a 3-hour chart, and you can see we've pretty much been in this sideways consolidation between just above 205s up into 270s. So it's like what 65 point range sideways since almost the beginning of the year here. Since what is this 137 days? So since about March. We've been in a sideways range of about 60 points here on Coinbase, and now we know what Bitcoin has been doing. Bitcoin has had some stronger moves within that time. So Coinbase sideways rangy for most of the year there, and Mara as well. I know I got some lines here as well, but we're nowhere near. We're kind of in the middle of that range here on Mara as well. So not really watching these tickers as much, but I think right away what I see is this, again, little bit of a downtrend here over the past couple of days. If we do kind of go in to test some of that, maybe we get past this 23 level here as well. But again, not necessarily my top tickers on the day. I'm definitely going to have a closer eye on chips and some of these earnings day 1 and day 2 plays.
I was just going through a few names here. Next week, I hope no one planned a vacation for next week, because I mean it's Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, AMD. Oh yeah, the Fed coming on Wednesday as well. Like next week is going to be just a little bit exciting. So make sure you're with us. Apple, one of those, as I mentioned, back to 220 here in the pre-market. Big area of resistance yesterday throughout the day. Was that 220 area. So we'll see if we can get through today.
Yeah, it's exactly my look on it as well when I charted last night. All right, let's talk about Apple because there's a few headlines here to talk about. So Raymond James giving them the nod, maintaining the buy or outperform, whatever it is, and boosting the price target from 200 to 250. That's the first look. The second look is they're looking to cut their iPhone prices in India by up to 6,000 rupees, up to here because there's different models. It's about $71 and change. The other headline here is they're looking at making the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro in India. And we knew that they were going to do that because they want to reduce their reliance on China and French source. So the assembly will be handled by Foxconn, who has a plant in India. India is a significant market for Apple, the smartphone revenue surpassing Samsung in 2023. They also want to do iPad productions there too, Brendo, at the Foxconn.
We'll hear from them Thursday, guys. 4 trading days away here for Apple earnings.
Oh, yeah. We talk about the Super Bowl of earnings. And look, it all starts next week. There's no question about it. You're going to have to see OB's daily chart first. Can you throw that back up there? Because I don't have that trend line drawn, but there you go.
I like that.
Enough said.
No, like I was here, like on this day right here, for a couple of days. Look at the acceleration off of this trend of resistance. A bit of a channel broke out of the channel there with expanding volume, and we accelerated. We extended off of that channel. Bit of a run there, and take a look at where we bounced off of yesterday. Right? This is like a little bit of mathemagic here happening on trend of resistance turning into trend of support. At very peculiar areas right here, 214, 215, a little bit of a bounce, a strong bounce on Apple yesterday. So again, I guess this level, wow, that's actually beautiful. Why wasn't I there for that? Yeah, okay, so I'm curious to know whether we break prior day highs today, 220. What is this? All right, so if we're going to continue that little bit of a bounce going into the end of the week here, or we could just go sideways or down. Charts can only go 3 ways, right, Neil? We can't go backwards, but yeah. Want to bet? 220.85. Want to bet?
Maybe your charts can't do that.
Maybe, I don't know. We got to be going like what, 88 miles an hour here on the chart to go backwards here.
1.21 gigawatts. Like when I see that, it's just simple. You bounce off that trend line and a hammer bottom when the market V-shaped recoveries. I'm trying to keep it simple here. Hold a higher low and go. 217. That's the higher low. It's where you closed. I mean, 2 days ago, that's where we held the bottom, 217.5, let's call it. And if you're just simply breaking out above 220, that's cool too, because it's Friday, it's options day. If the higher low is just right here and you're breaking at 220, then the over 220 works as well. And then the other way to look at this is the simple, if it's rallying like crazy, I'm missing some data there, but if it's rallying like crazy, hold on to VWAP. Kind of trend trade. So we like all of that for Apple, but one of the simplest things is support turning into resistance. It's not just those levels on the chart. Sometimes it can be a trend break, comes back in and turns into the top of the trend line is support. I think that's what we just saw happen with Apple. So unlike the chip names where it's like, they're getting to that resistance point where I'd fade it, Apple is so close to that bounce and it's over it. It's over that level. So I'm looking for longs. You get down back into 217 seems like it's going to be extreme. So I got to be open to something else, like the 220 breakout here or holding on to VWAP at the open. Because if it gets to 217, that can be a separate trade on its own. And it would require a 1% move to the downside and trying to go red on the day. So I have other ideas earlier here for Apple.
All right, let's talk 3M. The day, I mean, Sean's away today, obviously, but I think he's been single-handedly holding up 3M Canada, maybe with his sticky notes daily going out.
Honestly.
Just took out the highs here, 7.3%. Huge move here on a nice beat across the board for the sticky note maker.
I like that, yeah. Everything was a beat here, Brendo. Earnings beat, revenue beat, profitability increased. They raised their full year guidance, so the EPS beat of about 30 cents there. Revenue was decidedly higher year over year, almost $500 million higher. Improved profitability vis-a-vis better margins, 4.4% better than last year, about 21.5% is their margins, and the full year guide, $7 to $7.30 per share.
Yeah, it doesn't typically do a lot in the pre-market volume-wise, but huge today for 3M right now.
For 3M. And much like, we talked about this with the rounded bottom. Like, this is not one of those where it's breaking out en masse over fresh highs. It's not that kind of a chart. Here, let's pull up a daily, because at the 15-minute, I don't think you necessarily see those levels, but you got your nice rounded bottom and trying to break out the top in here. So you've already taken out first, you've taken out the second, and then now you're trying to hold above the third. I call it more like a 110. Like if you see this here on the daily, that's more like a 110 level. So when you're calling it up and seeing us break out and hold above 110, that's the key for me. You look at this gap, it's like, well, what are you doing with that gap if you're not looking at the higher time frame? I say nothing. So 3M, it would be a 110 hold. Only, now with Alphabet, I'm still going to be looking at 4-day 2. Apple, the Nvidia, AMD, whichever one decides it wants to pop and fade. 3M's not going to be a trade for myself, but that 110 level, if it can hold, that's that previous high in the daily. You can already see it run away. We'll check to see what the imbalances are in a few seconds. Maybe it's got like a buy imbalance or sell imbalance, which could influence the action going into 110, but that would be that line. Holds above it, that's the prior resistance. When it finds support at that level, generally we'll look for continuation. 7.5% on earnings. Also, don't sleep on this next week, right? If it manages to hold on to these gains, you might even be able to get a day 2 play on this next week.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that 3M. We kind of spoke about it a little earlier there. Pushing, gapping, bidding up past some of these multi-month highs there into that 112 area, 112 being, we're bidding up there right now with some volume, again, going less than 5 minutes until the open there. Neil, so those imbalances coming out as of right now, but we are pushing up right into that 112 area. Take a look at this as well. I like this. Earnings from prior earnings, the anchored from prior earnings. Look at how well we've held above that. Every attempt to kind of push and sell below that anchored gets kind of fails to follow through and bids right back up, and we hold this level above 100. A nice little confluence with that 100 level as well. Resistance turns support, and now we're bidding up even higher. Next step up on today's earnings here with about, what is that? They beat both on revenue and EPS as well. Haven't really looked at their conference call yet. I don't know if it's happened just yet, but the price action is quite strong as of right now. Now we'll just go back to the higher time frame real quick and take a look at this on the weekly, and you guys can see right here breaking past this high, pretty much right here at that high of 111.96 from November 2022. And look at that crazy strong volume. Like these volume bars literally tower any other bars since inception on 3M here since when is this? August 2022. So it should be interesting if and when we get into some of these price levels here. 127 all the way, and take a look at that strong bar there. We're pretty much trading within the range of this very strong bar that we had off of whatever this catalyst was. I got to go back and check what this catalyst was. I'm curious to know if sentiment has changed since then.
All right, COUR, kind of interesting here. Corsair up on earnings as well. I was just checking, about a 10% short interest on this. You have to go zoom way out to get the full picture here. This thing IPO'd, if you remember, going back to 2021, around $47, $48. Got as high as 65 and has never seen that again. We are down to, $7.40 after the close yesterday, back to $10 here, but nice beat for Corsair.
Yeah, and this $10 area is really interesting. I'll let the big kahunas look at this, but there's definitely support in at the $10 area back in 2022 and as well in mid-2023. So we'll have to see if it's able to take it on a closing basis. Separately, though, the reason, sorry, Ram, the reason this one is up, it reported did really well, beat revenue on the top and bottom line, beat estimates, it says surpassed more than 2 million enrollments for its generative AI. This company does online learning, and they added a user every minute of 2023. That's how many they added last year. So good luck.
That's not bad. I saw it earlier this week. Actually, they have Google certification courses now on Corsair as well. So lots of options.
Yeah, and like you guys said, the $10 level, obviously a pretty big one on the daily chart for Core. There it is. You hold on to 10. You have chance to rally. You actually just saw it broke out off the 10 level. I want to quickly go over Dexcom if we can, because Dexcom, I mean, nasty. Why is it not DXCM? Down 39%. There we go. And it's underneath. You have to go really far back out. Just under $67 is that key level. Not a great look on their revenue guide at all, but it's a pretty harsh move. It could do some continuation underneath that 68 or 67, and I think this thing has room to just completely catapult to the downside. But because it's going to be down this much, if we regain that 67 and are breaking out, that would qualify as an SSR bounce. If it goes down and gets a 5 handle on it, I'm going to start looking for SSR bounces. It would be cut in half at $54, particularly. So we're only 30 seconds to go. The only imbalance of note was Nvidia 420,000. I put it in the chat, and it's already gone. So paired off, no significant imbalances. That EVRI is a buyout. As we have the last 10 seconds before the final opening bell of the week, Apple already starting to pull back. Maybe we will get that 217. Let's ring it in 3, 2, and 1. Adara, let's go. There it is, enthusiastic ring. Okay, Apple down 219. So still looking like it wants to track back in. Alphabet, Alphabet tanked $2 at the open. So both Apple and Alphabet headed to the downside. Nvidia immediately tried to break the high and is starting to come right back in. So the sellers have jumped in very, very early. If you wanted to short the pops today, I suppose you didn't get any pops anywhere to try and grab a bit of a fade. That Viking Therapeutics, I'll have my eyeballs on that one as a bit of a small cap, but might have to change plans here. I don't want to jump too far away from anything just yet. I mean, Apple is just bounced off 18, didn't get to 217. Alphabet, wow, what a move down in Alphabet. Down 165, I would have liked that one short into 170. So we'll just have to be patient. If we're joining the trend, we have to wait for an opportunity to get. I'm not chasing these lows at all, and Apple's not at the dip buy zone yet.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna stay a little bit patient here, kind of observe the futures as well. We're pulling into that 19.1. We've been bidding up in the pre-market session there as well. Again, we talk about some of the tickers I have on watch today, so I'm going to be kind of observing those. That Google, oh boy, that thing has been selling off pretty much every day, and I still have yet to catch a proper sell on it when it does come in. Sheesh. But bigger picture, it is kind of in a very strong downtrend, and we saw that catalyst that we had end of day on Google really bringing it in right here. So I can pull up the chart so you guys can see right here. So catalyst comes out at 2 p.m. Strong Kwadunk breaking through the low a day, attempts to bounce, pushes 170, fails to follow through 170, and then flushes even harder into the after hours with lows at 166s. And we're coming into those 166s as of right now, trading at 165.75. So I'm going to continue watching that Google as well. But I like this WM as well, just breaking through this 200 as of right now. Kind of spready, almost a point worth of a spread here on WM. Got Ford on watch as well, and I got some alerts on that DXCM coming in.
Wow, Ford's just sitting there, and it's awfully tempting to short the consolidation because you can risk like 2 cents on Ford. We'll see about it. I am on the offer of that, but it is Apple that's front of mind as we're getting close to that 217. Alphabet, I know I want to be short this name, but I still, I'm not leaning into the whole chase thing. Come on, Google, there we go. So it's starting to bounce back a little bit. If we get back into like VWAP, that would be one play for sure there. And as I mentioned, Nvidia already starting to come back into the downside. AMD was the other pop and fade. So it dropped, took 140. Now you're getting a lower high into VWAP. This is where it dropped late in the day at 140. So I'm going to, again, if you don't get the pop and fade and you like the short, the lower high off the open is the other way to go here. So 141, the new place. I don't really see a price that I like over there on Nvidia, but if I can get this 141, we'll take the first shot here in AMD. Just got, like as I said, the Ford wasn't really doing much, holding an 1125 level. So I just got in at 23. If it breaks the high, I'm just going to get out. But I want to be continuation short Ford. But if it breaks the quarters, I wait for the 50s on Ford. Did Waste Management make the break?
Yeah, it's in that area. It's just it broke 200, right? What was it? That low was 198.88, and the spread is pretty nasty here, but kind of teetering in between 50 pennies to a point. So I'm going to give it a little bit of room here, but it is kind of breaking down, looking for that continuation of trend from prior day. We did break prior low of day as of right now, just at that 199.50s, and I like that. We're trading below that 200 as well. Ford with a little bit of a bid, and wow, take a look at the futures, Neil. The futures are tanking. There comes in that 19,100 as of right now. So Google, lower lows continues to sell off on Google as of right now. 165 has broken, 164.69's testing as of right now. So let's take a quick look at this tech basket. Nvidia selling off, SMH selling off as well. I got I guess Tesla. I guess we'll talk about Tesla in a second. What's going on, Dara?
Just be aware here of sell side CVM. This one is a small cap. We have a 15.6% short float. Announced that the positive results here from its bias analysis for its study here for this multi-keen treatment, saying apparently that it cut the 5-year risk of death by half compared to the control population. So CVM, good luck here at new high of days, guys.
Yes, sir. Viking is going, but 217 just happened on Apple. So we just bounced off the 20 level. We're able to get some into the 50s here. We talk about sometimes you're catching a falling knife. I really thought there was always a chance you could break out 220, but it was either break 220 or hold 217. So far, it's bouncing off that level. We scalped into the 50s. There was a break on Viking. Viking broke that 67 level, and I did not get picked up. So I'm going to go from there. Apple 217. I got a 21 long. If we bounce back, I'll try to reload that one if we get that chance. But VKTX here, yeah, it's really starting to go. So it broke that 67 top, never broke out the support, and I tried to grab some at 7s. That's why, because it probably crossed by like 20 cents on that break. We'll see if we can dip by Viking, as it's looking awfully strong. So far, so good on Apple. Ford, we didn't get back into it. It just wicked the top. I offered right back and did not get filled. So Ford is actually continuing to the downside. See, I got wicked out and then tried to jump back in. I said if it broke the quarters, I'd get out of the trade, but I didn't get back into it. But Apple hit. So when Apple hit, we went over to Apple. That's opportunity cost for you. But Apple was at the level we like. VWAP sitting 218.5. If we get that shot, I'm going to take it 17 to 18.5 here on Apple. Still nothing really doing on Nvidia, but remember AMD. AMD was the other short we liked. VWAP sitting here underneath 141. We just tagged the 3/4 mark. So when we get 50s, I should take some out there. Look for the reloads off 141. So far so good, except for not getting back into Ford. That was a mistake because Ford's already down at 11 bucks. That's what they do. They wick you out sometimes. And I usually, on a stock like Ford, I'm thinking you can just jump right back in. It's $11 stock with thickness. Wasn't able to this time. Let's go to the desk. We've got Adara.
Another small cap on watch here, CareMax, CMAX. This one, as you can see here on the daily chart, has run up quite a few times, especially recently. No catalyst on this one, but we do have a smaller float, under 3 million shares, and a short float of about 5.7%. So CMAX back on watch at new highs of day.
CMAX definitely worth the watch there. As I said, that VX, that Viking, still not wanting to get me in, so we'll have to be patient. Apple, decent little dip. A second time that tried to get back to the 50s, and Apple's right back at the low. I think it's going to lose the low. We're looking very, very heavy here. There it is. So that's not short. I punched out manually on the 17 because I didn't even want to let the stop hit. So it fired the order, but I punched out manually. The bounce off 17 gave you a bit of a press. Now you're right back to the low. I think you got to preserve when it's not looking good, and that's what we're able to do. At the same time, AMD short, still looking good. I would love to be able to add to this in front of 141. The other play that I think is available for Nvidia, it never broke the high. So if you actually hold VWAP and a lower high, I would like that short as well. So we're in AMD. I don't know about a reload in Apple unless I see that strength come right back in here at the 17. It's trying. I don't mind this one, but we're looking awfully heavy. Waste management, how's that bad boy doing?
The waste management is still holding. Again, this thing has done barely any volume here.
Yeah.
It's at about 130K volume, so nothing too crazy here. But again, the chart is kind of trading a little bit lower than 200, just waiting for that volume to come in and see what we do. I like that Ford as well. Got a little involved with the Ford as we broke below prior days lows as well. Let's see what DXCM is up to. DXCM still trading within its opening range, so all right, bye-bye. Not really going to look at you for now. Let's see, what else do we have here? AstraZeneca, we kind of talked about that. AZN, and AZN is pushing up to and breaking prior days highs right there. 79's coming in. I guess I also did have Allstate here. Allstate trading at 170s apparently. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, they had some interesting price action end of day there on Allstate. AAPL is the ticker on that one. So going to be watching that one. A little bit of a bounce here happening off of that 19.1. So Google is taking a little bit of a bounce as well off of the open. So I am going to continue watching this one to see if that selling kind of comes back in. I'm going to wait for VWAP. I'm going to wait for some of those pre-market highs as well. Let's see what the market does. Again, we've been selling off quite aggressively for this week. And let's see if we do a little bit of continuation or just chop sideways today, or do we actually have a bounce here? I'm looking at Nvidia as well. Nvidia trading within its opening range. Oh boy, Tesla is the one that's kind of really selling off as of right now, right off of the open. So Tesla kind of coming in, and yeah, I was gonna talk about Tesla. Tesla is what? Tesla's an AI name now? I don't know.
It's a little bit of everything, Tesla. Look, man, it's a robotics company. It's obviously automated driving. It's also just straight up tanking to the downside. So it is what it is. You've seen this one fall like an absolute rock. I think let's not look too much into it outside of where might there be support. It dipped down into 217 before. So if you're trading Tesla, 217 yesterday early on was that higher low that it put in, technically speaking. I think that's where you might look. Unfortunately, as I said, I got wicked out of Ford, and when it popped back up, previous low 1115, looked to short off of 1115. So I'm in this one looking to be adding to it to the south side. AMD continues to move to the downside. It broke 140 a couple of times, but you're still holding on to the bid at 140. Reloads are going to be at VWAP on advanced micro devices, and I feel the same way about Google. It's just I haven't hit the sell key. Because we're all the way down at 165 here on Alphabet, and if we're going to go green to red, Alphabet's already red, and I felt this was a short. I felt a couple of the chips were short that were only in one of the chip names. If we fail VWAP in here, the plan said to be shorting Google on a trend, and if the trend just wants to be that simple, I guess that's what we got to do. 165 half if we get a pop. If Ford breaks 11. I'll probably scalp some out in front of 11. It'll probably have like 1 million shares on it or something, and then look for places to add on any consolidation levels for Ford. It's that kind of a stock. So, Ford, VWAP, it's probably going to move down here around 11.15 at some point. We're going to hang on to this. If we get 11 evens, going to be taking some out going into that even $11. And Dexcom, not really any trades there for me on Dexcom, and I feel like we might have dodged a bullet on Apple. Look, we had one bounce plan Apple for the $0.50, and then we got the rest out without a reload. Sometimes the best trade you make, you ring the register, you get away from it, and then the shorts work. That's how it should be. Let's go to the desk for Adara again.
Keep an eye on AST Space Mobile here. ASTS is the ticker for this one, up almost 10%, near high of days. Not a small cap, actually, it's a $4.4 billion market cap. They've run in the past. It looks like a continuation from yesterday when they announced that they have their first 5 commercial satellites completed and ready for shipment in the first week of August. So keep an eye on ASTS here, guys.
Ooh, is it Astis is what we're calling that one? I don't know. We had a name for it. ASTS. Oh, there you go. I just typed in Apple instead of AMD. AMD just broke down toward the low of the day, so we haven't been able to add back in on that one. Ford's heading to the upside, so we're going to be getting more of Ford. Oh, there's the trail. There's the trail. All right, so you know my style of trading. If you triple tap or double tap a level like this and pull back into VWAP, I'm looking to short the next available pop in AMD. But if you're just going to gift the dollar into the bottom of the range, I'll look for either a breakdown again or a short back into VWAP. So again, ring the register. I'm not looking at any gift horses in the mouth. AMD 140.80 where we got in sits at VWAP as we speak, and you can see it bounce. But I try to stick to the plan. Like every time you do this, sometimes it flushes a dollar, you look bad. Other times it bounces and you look like an absolute genius. But it's just the plan of action. Regardless. So that's what we're doing here on AMD. Still not in Google or Alphabet, I should say. I don't know about you, Obi, but I felt like that was low-hanging fruit. Yeah. And let's just say it's hanging pretty darn low right about now.
I'm telling you, like I've been trying to short this thing with little success, mainly due to not the best executions over the past few days. But yeah, no, the bigger picture since earnings, like I don't know why, I've just been very anchored to the short idea on Google. I do have to clean up my executions around it, but bigger picture, it is coming in quite nicely here. You can see today is earnings day 3, right? So we had day 1, nice little sell-off, continuation sell-off yesterday, plus Catalyst as well. So a little bit of a stacked confluence there in terms of Catalyst, their earnings, plus ChatGPT coming out with their Search GPT or Search AI, and bringing that right in. Strong selling pressure. I was watching the tape here yesterday on Google, and the bids were getting smashed. Any sort of pops. It was pretty volatile at the same time. We had 50 penny kind of washes there, 50 pennies up, 50 pennies down. Every time we would bid, the bids would get smashed even harder. And then we look at that, we ended up closing near or at low a day there, breaking prior low a day as well in and around that 176 mark. So was definitely interesting. We're getting that strong continuation today. Can't even get up to VWAP apparently. VWAP at 165.93 on this chart here on a 15-minute, and we are about to print, or with this second 15-minute candle starting just now as it's 45, looking like we are trading a little bit lower. Let's see if that 15-minute opening range low at 164.40s gets taken out here on Google.
Well, what a bounce.
Ticker of many names. I like Google, I like Google, I like Alphabet, I like Alpha. You know, it's the mood. It's depending on the mood, how I'm feeling. It gets a little bit of a name. What is happening here?
It's just
I'm getting
Google.
an alert on the Dow Jones. Dow Jones alert. What is? Okay, hold on. That's a little important. Let me go to this ticker right here. Okay, so we are breaking out of some of these prior highs here on DJI.
Jeez.
So all right. Well, you know what? I should be looking at some other tickers then.
Just very, very quickly, VWAP happened on Viking. I keep saying this wrong and typing it wrong in the level 2. VKTX, I'm just going to call it Viking. You guys know what I'm talking about. VKTX bounced off VWAP. We didn't get the dip buy on this stock, and we didn't get the 67 break on it, and it never broke 70 up top. So leaving the only long opportunity being the dip off VWAP. So we just got 67.5, and it got to 68. Obviously, you saw that high from yesterday that I want to respect. So if it gets up to the top, it's a scalp all the way for $1.50 into 69 even. So far, so good. I mean, the market's heading to the downside, so sometimes you want to have these low float type runner names that are going to the upside where you can take advantage of it. So I'm going to get some out of Nvidia and then explain what happened over here. So Nvidia was consolidating at VWAP. Great, we like the short on Nvidia and AMD. What AMD popped up, broke VWAP. I'm like, where's the other side of the trade? Where's the other side of the trade? Is it going all the way to 142? And then started slamming down, looking pretty strong. So I didn't get that trade and went right to the other level 2. I knew I liked both of them for pop and fade, and Nvidia just set right up I mean, perfectly. Like, which one of those two didn't break the high and was very clean at 115? It was Nvidia, not AMD. So that's the reason for the pivot from AMD to Nvidia. We're still in Ford, which is kind of going sideways at this point, but Nvidia is going to break this 114. It's a question of where we're able to add to this thing. I think we're going to head at least a test of $113, as far as I'm concerned, is in play here. So we got a couple of dollar winners early. I really, really would have liked to get into Google, but you take what you can get in this market. That's basically the best that you can do. Alphabet just never really set up the way the chips did.
Yeah. Okay. So we are trading a little bit lower here on both Ford. Ford kind of rejecting its VWAP as well, and I guess the waste management is kind of coming in below that 198 level here. Not really doing too much volume, so not the best just yet. But the move seems to be kind of panning out. VWAP sitting at 99.40s on WM there. But yeah, no, the market's coming in hot, man. Look, when we talk about that 19.1 on the DAC, and look at that, we're trading below that 19,000 incoming. I
got one for you.
What's going on?
Victory! Do you understand that one?
No, I don't.
You guys get this, right? Victory! You know what's up. Viking Quest, my main man, Johnny Drama in the house. Nothing? Okay, no, the chat's going to let you know exactly what I'm talking about in a second. But we got VWAP into yesterday's high. So again, simple trade, Viking Therapeutics, continuation. Look, I elected to go with this over Mara. Mara was possibly set up the similar way, but this is just stronger. Held the bottom, broke 67, dipped into VWAP for a continuation of the previous high. So that one's going to end up working out. I love Johnny Drama. He's a fantastic character. If you've never seen Entourage, obviously you're not going to understand what I'm talking about with that. But Entourage, I think, is a classic show, but I'm also an old man. So, take that with a grain of salt. To each their own. We missed our opportunity in Ford to get back in. It just wicked VWAP again. I'm short 13s, and if this gets above 20, I don't think I should be in it anymore. Like, we couldn't get the fill down underneath 1105 into 11. So if this is only getting down to 1105, I should be taking that and not letting this get past the 1120. It's the only thing that is not working at this point. VKTX worked. Even though Apple broke, the first bounce was fantastic for us. AMD is continuing, but we got the Nvidia trade. I'd love to be able to short these back off of VWAP, but Nvidia is continuing to flush to the downside. I think we can get that 113 test on Nvidia. So far, so good, with the exception of Ford right now. And I still have my eyes on Google, Mara, which I elected not to trade in lieu of Viking setting up. And it's not that Mara was bad. Like, Mara's going as well, and probably the same setup, but it just didn't get down to that $21 level. I guess it held the previous high pretty well. You could have taken the breakout. The dip into VWAP certainly could have worked for you. Yeah, this would have worked the same way Viking did. You just had to pick one. I only look at so many level 2s. You can't have every trade. It was this or Viking, and these look almost identical to me.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that look on that VKTX. Solid trade there. And we kind of talked about why, right? In the morning, the break of that trend. I have pulled up IWM here. Just kind of taking a look at some of this. Was doing some RVOL in the pre-market and kind of pushing above prior, weekly highs as well. So I do like that look. But before we kind of continue talking about that, what's going on, Adara?
This part of the show brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Tired of being late to the trade, always playing catch up in the market, missing out on the big moves because you're too slow to the news? Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else. Pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving and join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? Visit benzinga.com/pro and get a free 14-day trial.
Keep your ear to the ground. Make sure you are not trading blind. Cannot say that enough. If you are trading Alphabet, it is still holding the bottom end of the range. I know this was the other thing we liked short, but look at what VWAP is turning into on this name. Like a very clean resistance level here, right at VWAP early. So the next time it breaks 165, this is going to be the plan of action would just be to try to short it on a wick up here. If you're making a bottom, let's be a little bit cautious because I just looked over and Apple is finally finding a bottom. Not a clean one, not one that I wanted to fight, but it's finally finding something above that 217 level for Apple. The NASDAQ's held up 0.5% to the upside despite this flush. So this is one of the names that I actually liked on a dip buy. Don't wonder if we're not going to hold on to this 217 here in Apple. I got the eyeballs over there. Unless we get a reload on VWAP on Viking, or maybe it breaks out the top, or some kind of a reload on AMD or Nvidia, the eyeballs will be on Apple and Google, the two things that we're not in right now.
Yeah, I was talking about that IWM here, attempting to push for some of these pre-market highs. Pre-market high at 225.13 from, which candle is this? This is a 5 a.m. candle right here, and we're kind of consolidating, chopping sideways quite aggressively here on top of that 224, so I do like that. See if we can get in for that 225.13 push as we consolidate here at 224 halves as well. You know what? I do want to get a little bit involved here. Let me just throw in a bit of a stop. Boom. All right, cool. So we can let that do its thing. See if it'll have me. Ideally, I did want to get a piece of VWAP there, but we are looking like we are pushing a little bit strong. I'll get some here, maybe some more a little bit later as well. We shall see. I guess I'm still in this. This Ford, as Ford kind of teeters in and around this 11 teens area here as of right now. Let's see what IWM does. It's looking a little bit aggressive here as the tape speed starts to speed up a little bit here. WM still coming to the downside. Nothing too crazy happening there. IWM still pushing. DXCM. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Is that kind of going? No, it's not. Never mind. I was looking at the wrong chart.
But you know what? DXCM, remember, it was 67.80. Is that correct? It was 60. When you go to that daily chart, I'll go back to it in a quick little second, but it's holding VWAP on that DXCM and a lower high. It's still kind of trending down. I want to give this one a chance. It's got some big levels underneath this bottom here on the daily, and I don't know if I don't like it. AMD, we're able to get a reload. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not. Right, like Nvidia is holding, blocking the money off the 115, and AMD's back at VWAP. So the way I feel about this is, tighter stop in here. Do not let this break away from VWAP. Allow it to go back to that high, and then work on over to Nvidia. But that that Dexcom is certainly on my radar. It's always threat of an SSR bounce, no question about it, because of it's down like 39%. But if this is going to trend down all day, I know this is one that we wanted to be in. It's underneath the pre-market lows. We have free locates here at Real Trading, so we can trade Dexcom no problem whatsoever. So this 66, I think you have to at least give it to that local high at 66.80 or so if we can catch a fill on Dexcom. Not a bad spread, but it is 15 to 20 cents, so you have to play this with a little bit of caution.
Yeah, so on that 225 just came in on IWM, attempted to push for some of those highs. We printed 07s, 225 07s, and a little bit of a pullback here. But if you guys take a look at, I'm watching a 3-minute chart here. You can look at whatever time frame that you want. But on the smaller time frames, it is a little bit choppy, a little bit wicky, but holding above VWAP, holding some moving averages, attempting to build into that pre-market high 225. 13s as of right now. So let's see if we get a little bit of that continuation move. Futures here, what do? We bounced off of 19,060, and I guess ES kind of muted as it's only trading within its opening range here. So ES, nothing too crazy. Let's see what the Spider is up to. Spider's probably looking very much the same there. 542 halves we're trading at on the Spider. Google L continuing to make some fresh lows there, and Softy trading within its opening range. Apple a little bit lower than the open. Nvidia a little bit lower than the open. Amazon as well trading within its opening range. So it should be interesting. Here comes
Viking.
that 225. Did we just wick those pre-market highs right there? I need a little bit more of this one.
IWM?
IWM pushing past some of those highs there. IWM getting going. Let's see how strong we can get past some of these levels. It was doing RVOL. We kind of consolidated above this week's highs. And again, prior highs I have from was it June 17th here at 226.63. Let's see if we can get to 226.63 there and end the week off a little bit strong. If you guys take a look at the daily chart on IWM, we did kind of pick up on the bid. We've been making higher lows and higher highs back towards these highs here at 226s. Let's see if we're poised to kind of come into those highs and make an attempt at some fresh levels there. If not, that's perfectly fine. Willing to get out of this ticker and reassess if it kind of breaks the structure, breaks the trend as well. Ford, not really doing too much, man. Kind of still.
It's still going sideways.
Still in its opening range there on Ford.
Yeah, not a lot of change on Ford. I can tell you getting into DXCM is, yeah, it's not the easiest getting into fill. You saw it fail VWAP. I'm still sitting here trying to pick up something in front of 66, and you can sort of see it's trading downside. I want to leave the order to see if I can get picked up and catch a fill. As you mentioned, Ford not doing a heck of a lot, but it's still in the pocket. Whoops. Oh, give me a break. If you type in, there's a symbol for it. So if I type Ford in my level 2, that actually comes up as a different symbol. You're still at VWAP, but if you break that 20, I've decided if it breaks 20, then I'm out of it. And wow, Viking, VKTX, we never got our reload in VKTX. It didn't want VWAP a second time. It then held an obvious line at 68. On the bounce, I tried to grab it 68. I can cancel that for that. I tried to grab it on the way back in front of 68. Even if that was going to hold, you're running toward that $70 level. So we'd like to rejoin the trend here on VKTX. If I can't do that, not we, if I can't do that, Bitcoin's on the run. It was this or Mara, and Mara is still holding trend up. So getting into the Mara trend is always an option for me here. So Mara trending up like we were looking for, but it was Viking that we took the trade on, looking for one of those two to go. Either one, I like the reload as long as we can stay on point and stay on trend. Still looking pretty good for each of those. And Nvidia setting up for a reload off of VWAP. Just want to find something to the long side. If we're going to hold and head back to 1%, I've lost my longs.
Yeah, that bounce kind of really coming in here on the fuse. You can see the first 15-minute candle pushing up aggressively. But before that, happening now, because we have some numbers. What's going on?
Couple seconds here until we get the Michigan consumer sentiment data. Key here is going to be the Michigan consumer sentiment final print for July. Previous of 68.2, consensus 66, and forecast of 66. We did get this number here coming in at 66.4, so slightly below here the previous number, slightly above expectations of 66. We also got in here Michigan inflation expectations, the final number here, 2.9, so exactly in line with the forecast of 2.9, slightly below the previous number of 3%. Also getting 5-year inflation final 3%, so this is above the forecast estimate of 2.9%. The Michigan expectations final coming in here, 68.8, so this is above the estimates of 67.5, and the final Michigan conditions here coming in 62.7, so that's going to be lower than the forecast here of 64.4. Main number, though, is going to be the Michigan consumer sentiment final, slightly above the consensus of 66, but below the previous of 68.2. It came in here at 64.2. Here is the S&P 500 continuing to kind of curl up a bit, getting a nice base around that 542 area. Is the SPY. Some earnings names on watch, including Dexcom, down almost 40%. They did beat for earnings per share, but they missed sales estimates, and they guided quarterly and fiscal 2024 revenue well below estimates. We also have Bristol Myers Squibb, though, on the other side of the coin, trading much higher, up about 8%. They beat here across the board, and they did raise their guidance above analyst expectations. So good look for BMY. Quite a few earnings names, actually, to keep an eye on this Friday.
The number wick.
All right.
The number wick out. So VWAP came in on Nvidia. It just immediately wicked VWAP in there. So we had some when it failed underneath and then took out the 115. I got to look for a post number reload here, but it has to be lower highs. If you're making higher highs, remember what happened yesterday. Let's not forget what happened yesterday. That V-shaped move. If we're going to hold trend to the downside, you want to see us make that lower high and then work back into it. I'd rather do that, like re-enter either at the same price or underneath VWAP, than try to fight that trend. Mara did pull back into the trend. It's a steep trend line, but you saw it just wick down to 90s and hold 22 even. I said 23 is the area to look for short. So as long as you're trending up and not close to 23, I look for the join. I didn't get Viking again, but sometimes you got to buy high, sell higher. You can't be immune to that. If a stock's going to keep going and all you want to do is get the perfect price, well, then you're going to miss the move. So if it gets underneath that 90 level, we'll jump out of it. If it gets to high day, I'll probably take some out. Ford also popped on that. It was starting to work down. Like it was down around the 12s. I'm like, okay, we're going to have to take some out on the bottom end of the range if it's just going to have a tight range. But Ford breaks 20, we get out of this thing. My price is 14s. Closer to VWAP. I think ideally I would have got 15s, but I started it at 11s, which was probably a mistake. And then once we get all in, I think it should be under VWAP where you want that. The market making that rebound. And the longs I liked, I only have Mara because Viking went off to the races again without me. So pulling back into VWAP would be nice for this if we can get it.
Yeah, so talking about a wick out off of the number there, I definitely, again, I had my stop right on top of 244s. That number comes in, we drop down just below VWAP where that 244 is sitting, so I got to reassess. I got to be like, all right, well, if I really like this long, where am I really stopping out? Should I be stopping above 224? Maybe not, because it comes right in and it rips right back up over a point past those 225 teens, those pre-market highs on the IWM. So that strength definitely showing up. I guess, a VWAP buying, still sustaining and still doing the same, more of the same as we have been doing since the open. So you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to be patient.
It's a trap.
Wait for that VWAP to come right back in and see if that bid is still there. I don't want to chase up here at that 225, but we'll wait for that VWAP to come back in and see if that sentiment kind of continues. Another ticker I was watching here was, what was it? LW, Lamb Weston Holdings here. I like this one as well. Day 3 earnings, but again, I was looking for that continuation to come in, but it is only bidding up into some of those prior day high as of right now. 56. What's the high? 56.60 is prior day's high on LW. So I got that on watch as well. AstraZeneca still kind of holding that trend from prior day. Let's just wait and see. I got to be a little bit more patient there, Neil. Been on a bit of a red streak, not really a streak, but a couple of bad days of not the best decision making. So I do have to kind of, I guess, take a step back, reassess, follow the processes. As we were talking about this in the morning, it's like I have my worst days when I'm not following my rules. Like, what are the rules there for? Processes.
Follow the process.
Yes.
I think that's how you say it. You guys, you trust me if I don't know, I could be wrong about that, but I think it's follow the process. So the process led me to be conservative, and that was wrong. That's what happens. Sometimes you get an economic number, and it can be very, very frustrating, the price action around it. But we had it at VWAP. It did the wick shimmy. We're like, okay, we'll try to find our way back in, and now look at this thing absolutely flush. Frustrating. Mara also just came back in. So we had the long, we got some at 1-to-1, and then it took out. So that'll flat trade on Mara. Maybe we're able to get VWAP in here on a bit of a dip. Frustrating, but it's going to happen. Like sometimes you just got to find a way to get back into it. If it's not Nvidia, I'm going to go to a name that I haven't talked about yet because it's underneath $150 again, ARM. So if you remember 2 days ago, we're like, yesterday actually, ARM 150 breakdown, got to 140. Big time recovery. ARM, same high, underneath that big 150 level. Room, let's just say there's a lot of room to the downside on ARM. I preemptively paid for locates on ARM in case it got back underneath this level, which we are very clearly right now. So we're only back into Ford. I'll still try to short pops as far as I'm concerned to get back into Nvidia and AMD. But I have to add ARM to the list once it broke underneath the 150 level. If it trends down and the market goes red, ARM could go right back to that 140. So let's let it calm down, maybe pop to the upside. Do not want to chase the move. Want to try to participate if we can get back into something like this or that Nvidia, which we got wicked out of. I don't mind rejoining that at VWAP. AMD, we'll see. But I have to add ARM to this list for sure. And you know what? Ford's starting to look a little bit better.
Yeah, Ford's kind of
I think
holding,
this is, it looks good to maybe get into all of Ford.
I like that, yeah.
Ow.
Just kind of waiting for the next trade there. I think the the board there might need to be updated. I'm no longer in that IWM trade there, but again, waiting for that VWAP to potentially come in. Where is VWAP? It is just shy of 224 halves, 224 threes on that, but we're holding those pre-market levels here. So I don't know. You know what? I'm tempted to chase. I'm not gonna lie. I'm tempted to chase.
Tempted to touch.
Tempted to touch. Tempted to touch. Who was that by again?
Tempted to touch.
That was a buy. I remember,
why can't I figure this one out? Before the end of the... Oh my goodness.
Oh, geez.
All right, now this is just like, you know what? I'm not going to dwell on it because Mara's at VWAP. So, yeah, great song. Love me that music, but at the end of the day, Rupee, there you go.
Yeah.
Mara's at VWAP. That's the other thing.
All
but
right.
yeah, Rupee. That's my uncle. That's my uncle's. Well, one of my uncles and my godfather. That's his actual nickname is Rupee.
No way. Nice.
Obviously not named after the artist because like my uncle. I'm old, so good dude though.
Fair. Okay, so IWM coming right back into VWAP. Hello.
Ewum?
Yeah, Ewum coming right back to VWAP right here. So let's see. This is what I like. This is what I wanted to see. What do I want to do now? Now that I've seen what I like to see, I want to see a little bit more confluence here. Maybe some of those VWAP bids, maybe defending a little bit of the book. You know what I should probably do? I should probably pull up the IWM on this book so you guys can kind of watch along. Alongside here. So, okay, boom, there we go. So
why won't Ford
224.30s. My initial stop was at 224.10s, and that got taken out quite swiftly. But take a look at this market, man. This market is hella strong to the downside. We wicked the highs on the ES. Take a look at that. Off of that number there, Michigan sentiment. And then look at that, nice little, we were wicking the lows, and then we wick some of this trend to the high side. We slam right back down in through that 1910. So it should be interesting to see, nonetheless, what we do here today. Are we going to continue this bit of a sell-off that we've been having in these tech names and across the board at the end of the week here? Neil says yes. I have no idea.
I mean, it feels like
waiting.
it. Lowest hanging fruit says it is. Fresh lows on Nvidia, which we got wicked out of. Mara just lost VWAP, slapped a fail on that. Ford, which was doing nothing all morning, is now starting to break down. My eyes are obviously going to be on getting back into AMD or Nvidia or ARM. It's one of three as far as I'm concerned, but ARM doesn't want to bounce at all. As I said, Ford, bit of a change of plan because I think I'm going to start getting out at 10s, 7s into the 11 even level now that you're back into VWAP. It's this wick right here with a stop at 1120. When it wicked up to 1120 and then lost VWAP again, I'm like, okay, that should be a place to add on Ford, which looks pretty good for now. But wow, Nvidia is really tanking. And any chance, if the trend is going to be down, if we don't get VWAP, going to have to play this one by ear. I know a lot of people are looking at that, or looking at Tesla as it continues to flush to the downside. I didn't really have Tesla as one of the stocks that we want. As I said, AMD, Nvidia were the two for the shorts, and then Alphabet was the other one. But you're right down at this low of the day here on Tesla. That's probably decent for the short in Ford, just by proxy. Google's still holding on to VWAP, although it's putting in a higher low here. So Google is a curious one in that VWAP is held exactly, but it's not flushing the way that some of these other names are moving as we speak. So eyeballs are still going to be on the chips on this next bounce to look for the other side of the trade, the curl. I think this was just bad timing on the number being at 10 o'clock. I should have waited till after the number for the reload on Nvidia. But you know what? I can't rewind time. I can only look for the next trade, which is Nvidia popping back up here for another reshort.
Yes, sir. And so did a bit of chasing there on IWM. Again, VWAP was at 23s. I got 64s. That is disgusting. But it is what it is. We do a little bit of chasing with less size as the price kind of rips right back up. So we're looking for that bid to kind of firm up on top of that VWAP on IWM, which it has been kind of doing throughout the morning session there. And we did a little bit more firming up there as the rest of the market kind of trends or sells off a little bit there. So we're still holding some of this consolidation on IWM. So I like that. Let's see if we can do another knock on the door of day highs here at 225.39s. we're pretty choppy. We keep chopping a little bit higher and higher every time. So I'm keeping an eye on that, considering that as well. Maybe we can turn this into a bit of a range trade if it's not ready to go just yet. Kind of churn out some shares, kind of make some do a little bit of cash flow before it kind of makes a move one way or another, or it doesn't have to move. Maybe we just do a range all day. So I have no idea, but I'm going to try to be more nimble and try to dance with some of this price action here. Takes two to tango, Neil.
Yes, it does. Not that I've ever tangoed, but so the saying goes, and that's most dances, I think, in a general sense. So if we're not going to get to view up, I have an Nvidia up, as you know. You just had a big move. You just went $1 off of the bottom, and then it gets right into the 42.20 level. Like, okay, if it's going to curl here, I'll take a shot tight stop before we get into VWAP, where I think you open it up a little bit. I do not want to miss a potential reload on this name. Then Mara did a wick shimmy off of, like, wick shimmy, that's a Sharif saying. And then Mara did the wick out, regain a VWAP. So I don't want to give up on this one just yet, as it's holding on to VWAP while you are holding on to the consolidation higher. Now, I know Bitcoin turned at 68, but it's still holding higher on this dip. This is a 15-minute chart. So as long as it's an upward trend, I want to keep taking some shots at it. Nvidia on the mind. As I said, we're already in forward. If Mara can hold the trend with off of VWAP, we like it as well. But if it loses it a second time, I'm just going to jump away from that name. Viking, Hector in the chat just said Viking. No, Viking lost VWAP on me there on the reload, and it's still holding on to it. The difference between that and Mara is more liquid than Viking. If you're watching it, you obviously know that's true. It's got a 20-cent spread. So I just wanted to see a little bit more strength off of it. Whereas you can get in and out on Mara pretty much at will. Like, it's easy to grab in. There's tons of liquidity. I know I'm not going to get slipped on the other side of the trade, but that Viking requires a lot more patience as VKTX trades. I think you got to be very, very cautious with Viking if you happen to be trading it.
Yeah, no, this 224 kind of coming in a little bit hot here, right back down into some of these levels here. We're trading below VWAP now, just within a 20 penny range, in and around that level. So going to keep an eye on this one. Did get involved now with the prices that I actually kind of want. So I got to do a little bit better chasing on the initial entries there. But we are doing a little bit of a curl here of some of these prior levels, but we're still holding above pre-market levels, that 224s. I like that still, so I'm going to kind of continue with this idea. Let's see if we can kind of get back up towards those highs, or we just go back down, and I guess I get stopped out below some of these levels here on IWM, as we just trading sideways within the opening range here. So Ford still kind of holding within its opening range, hasn't really done anything, so just consolidating as of right now. Maybe we got to be a little bit more patient for that one to potentially come in. Waste management still kind of not doing too much, a little bit of a slow, steady downtrend here on waste management. I'm still looking for the next trade. I'm looking at some of these tech names as well. We've been selling off a little aggressively off of the open, not as aggressive as prior day, but take a look at Softy here, Neil. Softy's kind of bidding up towards its high of day. So Softy relatively strong. Alphabet slowing down a little bit as well. Amazon still within its opening range. So nothing really going on there. Tesla, though. Oh, hello, Tesla.
Alphabet's starting to look like a breakout, oddly enough.
Really?
Yes. I mean, yeah. Like, look at it hold VWAP, but then the last push in the market to the downside, let me try to explain. Like, the last push down in the market, when we're making fresh lows, this is making higher lows the whole way. And it was so bearish relative to the market. If it just breaks 165.50, I think that could be a big rally into the upside. But look at it. It's just holding the line on Google. We're back into Nvidia, which has gone 15, 20 cents in the money, and then pops right back to that 114 area where we had it before. So, from a 115 short to kind of moving down to a 114, as opposed to what's happening here in Google with this clearly rounding bottom, like it just wants to consolidate up for some kind of a big breakout here. I got eyeballs on Alphabet, and I don't think I need to be doing anything crazy with Alphabet. I think you missed the early short, and if it's going to consolidate here and break down, you've got plenty of room for it to fall if you go to a daily chart, and if it breaks up, I think that can be quite explosive. So we'll pay attention to it. I don't think I want to short this. I think there are more explosive names. VKTX is starting to pick up again here. We had the first, the second. I think the second time through, it wicked everybody out. Well, not everybody, but wicked me out. And now you're starting to hold back above VWAP. But certainly, when you look at this one on the higher time frame, it's still putting in higher lows. You just don't have a top break yet. And if it takes out 70, double-digit short float, I still believe in this one that it could go. So I want to keep an eye on Viking. Nvidia over AMD, and I can't get ARM shorts. We have locates for ARM. When I say I can't get ARM shorts, I mean I can't get into ARM off of 150 without some kind of a pop to the upside. That's why we're back at Nvidia. It's about 40 cents in the money. But I'm no longer thinking short as much on Google. I'll tell you that much after that rounded bottom.
Yeah, no, Google definitely taking a little bit of a slowdown there. But again, what are your opinions on this the GPT search AI kind of thing there? Definitely Google. We saw the sentiment yesterday. Like I said, was watching the tape. The bid's getting smashed very, very aggressively. So definitely people are. It was being sold aggressively yesterday, right off of that catalyst, and we're printing a little bit lower today. But going forward, again, AI search is going to be interesting. But how is that any different than just going to ChatGPT and like doing a search there? Because now we know that the 4.0 has search capabilities. It can do a lot of that for
you know what? You just want it to be simple for people who are, to be honest, you want it to be simple for people like my mom's. Right? Like I think for anyone that's, what have I been using already? And is it going to look exactly and feel exactly like that? And the closer you get it to that, you're going to rope in some people that are not going to adopt it the way it is right now. I think it's pretty much that simple when it comes to it. So long term, everyone's going to win in this to a certain degree. All the ones that are spending, like an Alphabet in here. Here comes Nvidia breaking to the downside. Let me go back over to. We can finish that discussion a little bit later. But Nvidia is trying to break in. So we had it once, wicked the top without getting to VWAP. Now it's working down to that 113 support zone. The thing about 113 is this is where the tides turned a couple of times yesterday. So I don't want to ignore it. If it's just going to be every single dollar on AMD, then on Nvidia, then we're going to trade off every single dollar. Still want to be net short this. I think, if we go 2 for 3 on it, then fine, fair enough. That 10 o'clock number was annoying in that I probably didn't need to be getting into the trade, that 10 o'clock number. So we'll see if we can get some out the half dollar. Ford's still doing its own thing. And let's go on over. Well, not just yet, but we're going to talk a little bit about small caps in a second. I know there's a couple you guys are interested in, but it's been Viking that I've had my eyeballs on for a smaller name. Let's get to Adara and see which others are moving.
IWM up on the day, but definitely finding a little bit of resistance above that 225 area. Still at more than 1%, but trailing a little bit since hitting that level. Some other small caps to keep an eye on here include Newell Brands, NWL. This one actually a bit of a bigger market cap, around $2.6 billion market cap. They do have a short float of about 5.7%. They're trading higher after earnings, EPS beat, sales miss, and an increase for their guidance. So good look here for NWL, up about 30%. This one definitely in watch here as well. Wintree Therapeutics, WINT. They're up over 100%, filing a request for the withdrawal of a registration statement on this Form S1 with the SEC. So Wintree here up more than 100% on this, but worth noting they do have a float of around 568,000 shares. So very small float, 8% short float, market cap of just under $2 million. And last but not least, we have CMAX. New news on this one. This one has been running on and off the last few days. CareMax up right now about 25%. They have a short float of about 5.7% and a float of just under 3 million shares. So CMAX back on watch once again today, guys.
Yes, sir. Google really wants this breakout. It feels like it's kind of imminent here. You're above VWAP. You're holding this 165 now. Look, you can like an early short all you want, but it doesn't matter if you're just going to do this all the way back into the upside and the market wants to hold. Remember the NASDAQ's 0.6 to the upside and maybe even wants more than that. So I'm going to dedicate a level 2 up here to Google. This is the main show one, which we show you guys. If this holds VWAP now, breaks out the top, I'm going to look for, it's not a reversal trade because that was never in the short, but certainly I'm going to look for the opportunity. Now it loses VWAP, so maybe a nothing burger there on Alphabet. Okay, we'll still have to wait for this to break out the top, looking like it has a chance to do so. You have these other names which are definitely moving around a little bit. Nvidia tagged me for that $0.50, but Amazon holding VWAP and already going. This is why I'm looking at this Google for a potential reverse. Because you're seeing strength in Amazon, because you already saw Microsoft doing its thing and holding that higher trend. If I can catch a quick little breakout trade on Google, I think it can be very, very spicy. Like you could be 50 long into 65 and then a gap fill goes to 167. Nvidia double tapped. NVDA, there's no S on the end of that. It just double tapped 14 and 113.5. So you're starting to get higher lows on Nvidia. I think that could lead us into VWAP. So this one we'll take for 50 cents. If we get a reload at 114, fair. If it breaks that, we wait for VWAP. I think we're going to go into a bit of a scalp mode here. As long as the market wants to try to catch a bid, scalp the shorts, which is kind of what was working this entire way, and look for a potential break long. Tesla still looks very, very heavy there. I'm not liking what I see on the Tesla chart, but at least Google's looking promising. So weird. The market will do that to you. You know, the shorts have been better this morning. This is one that we wanted off the open and didn't get, and suddenly it looks like a pretty darn good long opportunity, at least back into 165 here in Alphabet.
Yeah, I'm watching this IWM. So here's the thing. Attempted the long that last time, and again, we talked about kind of following rules, and I have hit my 3-strike rule for the longs here on IWM. But kind of taking a look back at it, we did wick that pre-market high. I failed to follow through that 225, and now we're pushing towards day low here. Day low being, I guess, intraday open session low being here at 223.19, and we're just about 30-40 pennies away from that level right now as IWM kind of comes and pulls right back in. 200 period moving average as well, a little bit in and around this area with pre-market lows coming in at 223.13. So let's see if we kind of catch a little bit of a bid here, as the pre-market did show us a little bit of a bid from off of this area. But I think bigger picture, I'm looking at the 15-minute chart. I should have had a little bit closer of an observation to that 15-minute chart, but we are wicking those pre-market highs potentially coming in. And this is prior day high right here. Prior day high is right at, if I can get my cursor to get on the candle here, prior day high is at 224.02s, and that's exactly where we're trading right now at 224s. Take a look at the ES and the NQ, man. We are blasting to the upside, so that strength definitely coming in. Is that Google bouncing, Neil?
It broke.
It seems like it is.
It was a super clean break. 165 half went. It went right up into right to like 88 in front of 166. Instantly, sellers came in. It was just very, very quick on the break. I just got out, and I'm like, okay, let's just go dip buy hunting at this point because it slows up there on the breakout. You got the even dollar. You got the dip buy into VWAP for Alphabet. So rounded bottom. Now we're just looking for a stair step up pattern on Google. I mean, it just flushed to the downside. There's your nice rounded low. And if we can get a dip buy, great. It was free money, that 165.50 break. You're just going to get a clean 30 to 40 cent move depending on how you played it. And then we just look for the next trade. So pretty simple there. I don't know if I want an even dollar break on this. I'm looking to buy the dip. I don't know if we're going to get VWAP or if we just come back into 165.50. But it's so strange, man. I sat down and the big cap tech name that I was looking to trade was short Alphabet. And all of a sudden, the first trade you have is a long. That's okay. Because, like, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do if you didn't get that initial short? You pretty much just had to take this long. We'll try to get the dip buy if we can. I think we made the right decision to scalp out of Nvidia there for the 50 cents. It seems like it wants to get back into VWAP, and I'll let it coast into VWAP this time. You know, let's try not to get wicked out of it, right? Like, stay with the pattern. If it holds VWAP, break, fail break, comes back under, we'll try to be on this side of the trade. You know, like we were the second time through. Like, you can stop out and get back in. It's better not to get stopped out in the first place, right? Like, that way you have a clean win. Up is up, but hey, better to have a clean win than the other way around. So Google on the radar, certainly. Thank you for the super chat. DJ Freddie K. My high school buddies called me DJ for no apparent reason. Actually, there is a reason. It's just not friendly. I can't tell the story on YouTube, unfortunately. If anyone was here live, I could tell you the story, but it's not. It's a fun one. I'll tell you at lunchtime, but you'll see why I can't tell that story. But it was a good one on Google, and I think it's one of those you had to crowdsource it because everybody was yelling about Microsoft and Amazon and all these other names that were starting to rally. I'm like, Google's hanging down here for a breakout. All it has to do is play a little catch up, and you got yourself a trade. Catch up, and you've got yourself a trade. But now into VWAP here for Nvidia. We appreciate that super chat. But you know what we ask you to do? Hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you like the show, as a dear friend used to say.
Yeah, definitely. Don't forget to give that like and subscribe. I guess I'm in the chat now.
That's right.
As of today, I haven't really. I mean, I'm watching it, but I haven't really been interacting. My keys are being pressed here on these level 2s for the most part. Just watching this IWM come back in. Still in that waste management. It did come back up to VWAP, that 99 level. We have a low of day here at 97s and a little bit of a recovery here. But again, take a look at the markets. The markets are super, super strong. The ES pushing for that 5,500 mark as of right now, and the NQ ripping right back up. Let's see what we do with that 19.2. We did kind of reclaim that 19.1. We attempted to go towards 19 flats. But that didn't really come in as we bounced just above that 19,040, 45 mark here on the NASDAQ. So IWM still, now we're trading below VWAP, below some of these moving averages, but still sideways in terms of what we're doing on a higher time frame there. So going to continue watching that one. Let's see what else we have here in terms of tickers that I am potentially watching. Boston Scientific I liked as well. We traded significantly lower on earnings day 2, but now we're just trading a little bit up. Not really doing that much relative volume here as well. On BSX, Ford's still going sideways, man. Oh boy, all right, cool. So IWM seems like the short is on potentially as we come right back in towards day lows. Day lows being at 223.19s, pre-market lows, consolidation lows going into the open right at 223.13s as well. So we're knocking on the door of that.
On heaven's door?
IWM on heaven's door?
Knocking.
Okay. Or on Evan's door.
Heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. Oh,
yeah.
It's a song. It's a song, but
it sounds familiar.
No, it's fine. I like, sometimes we try to throw the references out there if we can. But let's get onto the desk. Why? Because it's 11:30 and we need to get our crypto update. Adara, what up?
11:30.
10:30.
10:30.
Right now, we actually have on from July 25th to 27th, there is this Bitcoin 2024 conference happening in Nashville. This could be an interesting one for the market for a few reasons, specifically related to some of the speakers. We do have Donald Trump here, we have that DJT stock you can keep an eye on with regards to Donald Trump's presence at this conference. Also Michael Saylor of MicroStrategies, so MSTR on watch here. Kathy Wood of ARK as well. And it's all being broadcast on Rumble, RUM. So there's a couple of different tickers that could potentially be in play as we head into this conference. Again, July 25th to July 27th. So keep an eye on Bitcoin and some of those equities with that in mind. Bitcoin itself here getting a nice recovery. We did have those 3 straight days of downside, but it looks like Bitcoin on the daily chart trying to continue to have these higher highs and higher lows. Let's see what we do if we come back to that 68,000 area, which did prove to be a little bit of local resistance last time we came up into it last week. Bitcoin up about 5%. Good look as we head into that conference. We also have Ethereum here up about 2.5%. This is its first week of trading after its spot ETFs began on Tuesday, so interesting look for this one as well. It has struggled a little bit the first few days. We have Solana up 6%, BNB up 2%, Dogecoin up 4.5%, Cardano up 4.5%. Generally lots of strength, Ripple a little bit weaker here, but we're seeing generally a bit of an uptrend across these crypto names today, guys.
Right.
Oh no, maybe I'm not supposed to hit that when there's a transition. Yeah, let's go crypto, but it is what it is. You can't take Kathy anywhere. She calls it all the wrong times, and she invests way too much in stocks that I've never heard of. No, I'm kidding. Go crypto. But well, I'm out of Mara, so we can't really talk about that. But we got the other end of the trade. We always say, what's the difference between the front end and the back end? That's the back end of a short. That's the front end of a short. That would have been the back end of a short. This is the back end of a short. That was the back end of a short. And once again, if we fail the 113 break, which has some size on it that just got chewed. So I was about to tell you there was like 100,000 shares on the bid of Nvidia at 113, but by the time they saw it on the level 2, they promptly broke the living you-know-what out of it. And if we get back above a 113.20, I think it's jam out of it. And Ford's even starting to work back into the downside. So Nvidia falling like an absolute rock. We got out of the Google trade, went over to Nvidia for the short, which I will trail, take it from one level to the next. And if Google's going to pull back in, okay, so you would have got to 66. I just took the initial scalp on the breakout trade. But if it's going to hold on to VWAP, this is still looking okay on Alphabet. Even though you're down at the lows, Alphabet rounded bottom, higher low. Doesn't look that bad. If we hold on to the bottom on the NASDAQ, I should be trying to find a reload in Google. VWAP sits at 165.20. Our entry was 165.50. I don't know how much I like that, but Nvidia once again flushing. And if you happen to be trading Tesla instead of anything that we're looking at, Tesla also breaking low of the day. So there were some opportunities to go to go long early. Viking was pretty solid. If you had Mara off the open, that was good. Microsoft, Amazon lately, then their Google. But the shorts have come right back into play. And I just got my first bid on Ford. Finally, Ford. If Ford gets to 11, I think I just take 75, 80% of it out, especially if it has a gigantic bid on it. It's just not moving enough, Ford. So if you can take 10, 15 cents, that's probably good.
Yeah, no, it's the market's very, very choppy today, coming right back in to some of these lows here. You can see we were like, oh, okay, well, we wicked the lows, and then we pushed in towards some highs, and then we come right back in. So a lot of excitement, but no real movement, it would seem, on some of these tickers here today. Futures definitely very, very choppy and aggressive to both sides here. IWM slams down all the way to trip twos. Some key levels from yesterday there. That's where we kind of bounced going into the close before selling off a little bit further. And look at that. We sell off aggressively back down into the trip twos there on IWM. And just futures sideways, right? Futures sideways here on both the NASDAQ and the ES. So I guess I'm just waiting. Google still doing a little bit of a bounce here. Nvidia selling off, continues to sell off. Spiders within its range. We just talked about the ES. ARM, though, Neil, I know that you were talking about some significant or interesting price action happening in ARM yesterday. We are continuing to sell off, I guess.
I'm mad that I'm not in ARM right now.
Yeah, ARM is continuing to sell off as of right now.
I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I am. Yeah, I am. And this is why. So remember at 10 o'clock when I was getting wicked out of Nvidia, and I was saying like that was the 150 retest on ARM. There was the break at 10 o'clock. It breaks it down on the economic number, then tries right after, 5 minutes after, it comes right back in to 149.80, and now you're making fresh lows. I don't mind overall what happened. Like, we're able to get back into Nvidia station to station. It's like, but it's frustrating because ARM was a bigger move, no questions about it. So we'll see what we're able to get. As I said, Ford finally starting to make a little bit of a move into the downside, and Google. You're holding the lows on the NASDAQ. Here, let's show you guys what's actually happening on the futures. You're holding the lows temporarily on the NASDAQ. That's why if I take the buck, I take the buck. That's my style of trading. I like to stay up on it. And again, everyone's going to have their different style. Some people are going to hold that Nvidia trade further. Each time I'm taking it out at the low when the futures aren't breaking it. But that somewhat conservative style can be why I'm up on a day like yesterday, which is rough. But then maybe I'm not going to take exactly the full advantage of the move. It's the idea, it's what I think is going to make sense for my trading style and what's going to make me green, right? At the end of the day, that's what you have to be able to do. So if I go from station to station, from VWAP to the low of the day, that's just what I like. And the futures are holding that bottom. Unfortunately, Alphabet's not really bouncing where I was anticipating. It ends up a clean bounce off the breakout price. So I'm going to do this just for my own sake, which is maybe just put a line in that 165.50 level. Because you can look at VWAP and then get anchored to VWAP, which is kind of what it just happened to me. Instead of looking at, hey, this was where the resistance was, that's where it rounded up and broke out from. So let the breakout level be potential support on the way back in. I didn't do that. And if it bounces off 165.50 again, I should try to get in off of that level. So I have eyeballs here on Google. Nvidia, if we're just going to trend down the rest of the day, a pop back up, all the way to VWAP seems a little bit fresh, for lack of a better term. But when I look over it yesterday, hey, here's 113.50 or so. Like in the afternoon, that was 315 when it found support at that price. I think if it gets to the $0.50, I can look for a curl to rejoin the trend into the downside. So far, so good, no complaints. How wasteful is waste management right now?
Waste management kind of popped up into that 99 halves. VWAP, we're trading right back down. I guess a little bit past that level as of right now. So again, market pulling in, right? And then we do a little bit of a VWAP rejection there as of right now. But yeah, we're I guess not really a rejection. We're trading in and around that VWAP, doing a little bit of an orbit kind of action there. So I am looking for lower lows and lower highs. But let's see what waste management can kind of bring in. We've only done about 550K volume on the day today. So
is that all?
Too crazy. Yeah, it's not done much volume there.
That is tiny.
But yeah, no, it's not the best, but it's the kind of I guess it's working for now. So I'm gonna be a little patient with that one there.
The problem with that is like if you're not the best, or if you're the best around, then nothing's ever going to keep you down. So you want it not to be the best around because you want that to be kept down. That's the idea.
Fair. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I like that.
I mean, Cobra Kai just started back up again. You think I'm not going to try to move some kind of a reference for Karate Kid in there? I'll find a way to stick a ridiculous movie or TV or reference every single chance that I can. That's just how how I roll.
I watched part of the first season. I did like it. I have nothing like.
You can say you didn't like it. It's fine.
No, it's not like I stopped watching it because I don't like it. I do like it a lot, but I think it was just a lot of time.
All right.
A lot of time definitely needed for watching multiples of shows. But yeah, no, future's still kind of trading sideways.
Well, you have kids, bro.
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't have kids, but I do have, I guess, a lot of things to get done in the week for sure. Again, I'm just still learning, still trying to figure out this craft and building on it. But time is very valuable.
Yeah,
very valuable.
It is, and you know what? Our time is valuable. That's why we make sure we give you the goods so that you know not just what we're trading, but what else is moving.
Yes.
And that you'll find out over at the screen with Adara.
With the exception of some weakness in energy, minerals, and a pretty flat communication sector, generally everything else is going to be really positive. Finance, green across the board here. Producer manufacturing, very strong. Commercial services, health services, process industries, consumer services. Retail trade with the exception of Walmart, generally to the upside as well, and also health technology. Eli Lilly continuing to sell off. Yesterday we did have that positive weight loss or obesity trial news with VKTX, so LLY looking like it's day 2 of sell-off with regards to those ongoing catalysts. Of course, the tech sector worth discussing. With the exception of Google, there's still a lot of strength here in this technology services sector. The Google continuing to feel the effects of that announcement yesterday of ChatGPT's search function, or that OpenAI search function. Also interesting enough is the rest of the sector, with the exception of the 2 Meg 7 names, very strong here for electronic technology as well. So tech services and electronic technology maybe taking a bit of a shift away from some of these Meg 7 names for the time being, guys.
Shout out to you, Kyle Burdett. There, I'll read it off if you don't want to read it, Obi. I'm going to hit the like on this one.
Yeah,
thanks for the super chat, saying? Obi. You keep smacking that ass, and the kids will follow. Trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro. All right, yeah, I know. Here's the thing, man. I
got 2 for 1.
You gotta have protection. That's why I learned that lesson yesterday. Gotta throw that stop in, even though you are slapping the ask and that momentum is going. Hard lesson to learn. Gotta have protection on for sure. And for again, unless and until you want to get stopped out, and that's different. You know what I mean? But but yeah, no, that's a good one, Kyle. Solid. I like that. But yeah, I'm just kind of little busy watching this IWM here. IWM is ripping right back up towards this VWAP. VWAP sitting at 223.89s. We're reclaiming that 223 as of right now. I'm getting these. I keep getting this Dow Jones alert, attempting to push some of those highs, prior highs there. So should be interesting to know. Do you trade anything that's like heavily weighted on the IWM? Did you catch that fly, Sharif? You killed two. The fly.
You killed two flies. Nice.
Ramin says there's no proof. You gotta have
Bodies.
He's like, I can bring him and put him on your table, Ramin. Nice. I like that.
No, don't do that. No, don't do that. That's just nasty. Absolutely nasty. I don't want to see a dead fly's body, but I'll tell you the IWM making a big move back into the upside. What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
No, like let it lay to rest in peace. Do that. So consolidation bottom. We we trailed out of Nvidia down here. Now it can't get back through 113. So the reentry might not be up at 13.5 or 114. It might just be off of this 113 level. And Google just continuing to fly higher. It's almost at the 167 level. Yeah, you can want it to dip, but this stock just only in rip zone is Alphabet. So we missed our chance to grab it off 165.50. I see what you're doing there with the fake fly on the screen that caught my attention. Yes. But continuing the breakout is Alphabet. I think this one is a long. At least until you get over 167 to 168, we just got to find a way to get into the dip buy. And I've changed the tune on Ford. I'm just going to show you Ford this way. Instead of being short 14s and 15s into the top, the play seems to be short over VWAP. If 20 is going to be the out, get a better price, and then scalp to the 10s. And if we get the lows, we get the lows. So just changing the plan here on Ford, as the runaway freight train that is Alphabet is one that I want to get back on, if it lets me. You don't want to jump on the ride when it's going 100 miles an hour. You want it to come back into the station and pick you up. At least me. I'm not a daredevil.
Yeah, no, I gotta kind of go with that concept a little bit more, Neil. Kind of waiting for the right prices. If you're like, yeah, VWAP is holding, so let me kind of bid VWAP. I find myself chasing a lot more than I really should be, and again, not the best there. Like for example, IWM, it kept on coming into VWAP and then going, but I'm chasing some of these highs there, so not necessarily the best kind of decision making as of right now. But you know what, 223s are coming in, so let's see what we do with some of these levels here. We are kind of downtrending as of right now. From earlier there, we did wick. So bigger picture, what's been happening? Let's tell a story on the chart. What's the story that the chart is saying? We wicked pre-market highs at 225 teens, and we sold off aggressively through the low of daybreak, aggressively, very much. And I was like, wow, this thing was not moving like this at all earlier, and then you get a slam into the bid like that. I'm like, all right, cool. Don't really stop out of this one there. We don't have a lot. But again, gotta continue stopping out of those bad trades. That's something I do have to get better with. But I was kind of risking a little bit wider than I really should be. But again, I reloaded on the 222 hold. I like that trip too, and we're pushing right back above. Let's see if we can get to VWAP here. VWAP being just shy of that 224 level as of right now. I am kind of posted at 223 halves. Let's see if we can get there as well. But this strength both ways, Neil, on this market is absolutely crazy. We are wicking to the upside. We are wicking to the downside. We kind of talked about this. We had strong days coming into the end of the week.
It's true.
What are the chances we just kind of do it? We've gone up, we've gone down.
Well, we're hanging at the low. We're hanging at the low right now. So here's the way I'm kind of looking at things. I mean, Nvidia just broke the low, flat bottom break in AMD. Every time I've missed an Nvidia short, I've had AMD. Every time I've missed an AMD short, I've gone over to Nvidia, so I'm keeping that going. But you have on a 15-minute chart, you got one green one on the NASDAQ, and you're looking overall pretty heavy. Then I think the other thing you got to consider is, well, what are individual names doing? Like trend down on AMD. Trend down on Nvidia, which has been a short into VWAP every single time. AMD starting to follow suit as well. I showed you guys ARM already. We break 139, we're going to get 138.5 here on advanced micro devices. So, I still say like short weak stocks, fine entries, flat bottom break here when Nvidia goes, and then the stocks that are strong. If NASDAQ ends up holding this bid, I'm saying if because it feels like we're not holding this bid, then I got Google as a play, potentially off 165.50. So I still like the Google long if we get it. The market breaks a low. You don't have to sit there and get run over by Alphabet. But if it holds, I know I like this one to the long side. So trying to keep it relatively simple. If you find the stocks that broke trend, were downward trend, broke it to the upside, look for those to be the potential longs. That could be Microsoft as well. Although Microsoft, that is a heck of a rejection at 425.
Yeah, it's...
oh my goodness. Sorry, that's a bad wick, but that was a big reversal on Microsoft. Didn't realize it was all the way down here. That's not great. 420 holding for now, though.
Heyo. All right, so IWM still holding that 223. So again, I like that. I like the look here. Let's see if we can get back into VWAP. Bit of a magnet happening in and around that VWAP level. It would seem. You know what? I want to take that off for now. I was posted a little bit at 223 halves, and we are aggressively pushing up into that level. So maybe I don't want to sell there because we might get better prices to sell at. So there comes the 50s right there. So we're just going to observe the tape here at the 50s. Let's see what we do. 223 halves. This is a reclaim of, what is this, a 21 moving average, 200 moving average as well. Yeah, we slammed below. This was an aggressive sell. We slammed below the 200 moving average there. Or is that the, wait, is that a 50? No, never mind. It's a 200 on a shorter time frame there. Yeah, okay, so we're chopping around that 223 halves as of right now. Maybe that was the high. Maybe I made the best, I guess not the best decision there. But I like the hold of 223s as of right now. As we're pushing up, the 3-minute chart, I like. We're in a kind of a strong trend back towards that VWAP, so it's a decent look there. And WM, not IWM. I like how I'm in both IWM and WM right now. So
keep it not confusing.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, wait, that one is not that. That's not that either. But yeah, no, a little confusion there. But the one with the I is the one that I am doing a little better in as of right now. But we shall see. Let's see if we can kind of come back up in towards this VWAP with these levels holding. NQ, finally, did we bounce off of that? No, we bounced off of 19,040 there. So again, seems like a choppy day. Seems like we're just going to be trading a little sideways here on the day.
And if that's the case, like I said, buy dips in strong stocks, short pops in weak stocks. If we do get Google, I don't know if we're going to get it here. 166 is pulling back in. You know what? Let's see it. Let's see if it's going to make that bounce. It already did this once off of 166. So I'm going to try it a second time. Sometimes it's going to be you want it both times, not just the second time. But we're going to go for it. If we can't get 165.50, we'll take 166, play back into that recent high. But it's also time for Money Talks. Let's go back to Adara. What?
The Fed's preferred inflation gauge this morning, the PCE index, coming in ahead of the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. So certainly was one to watch. Both the core numbers here coming in slightly above estimates. So core PCE for June on a year-over-year basis, 2.6% versus 2.5% expected. We also had the month-over-month index coming in line with the expectations, 0.2%, but above the prior number of 0.1%. So interesting look there. The non-core numbers were coming in exactly flat with expectations, so 2.4% for year over year and 0.1% for month over month. So interesting look there for the core and non-core PCE numbers. We also had Michigan consumer sentiment coming in a little bit higher than expected here, 66.4 versus the estimate of 66, but below the prior number of 68.2. Consumer expectations also a bit higher here than the estimate, but lower than the prior number, coming in at 68.8 versus 67.2. Next week we have NFP non-farm payrolls, but even before that we're going to be getting the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. So let's see what they'll have to say about PCE at that meeting, if anything, guys.
All right. So any keystroke trade is a bad trade, whether you win or you lose. So I keystroke out of that Google long at 20. At quarters, I meant to take a piece out, and I kind of punched it all out. there off that 166. So, that's a reason for being out of it. Let's see if it retests that 166 level one more time. I have it up, but I got to get to, with only 8 minutes to go, I got to get to VKTX, Viking Therapeutics. I feel like we've maybe left that one too alone. So here it is. It did not break the 70 level, but it is churning toward that 70. So there was a good consolidation on VWAP. When we went over and started shorting stuff, I almost said crap, but shorting stuff, Viking just held on the line. So I wicked out the second time. We got the move we wanted the first time, the buck half move. Then we stop out for a 40-cent hit and did not get back into it off of VWAP. So I think if it pulls back into VWAP, let it consolidate. It's that or it breaks 70 and goes ham. Why do we like this on a higher time? My daily chart still doing that. Double top up here, higher lows into a double top breakout on VKTX. So good look. And I'm watching it. I do want to get back into it, but we pivoted on over to Alphabet there. And, it's still at the same price, Alphabet. So it ended up being like a 15-cent win, which wasn't necessarily intention. The intention was to take a first out there. But we'll let this one calm down. Looks like it wants to come back into the downside anyways. And Ford, see, I said this time I'm going to get the money fills over VWAP. I'm like, okay, we're getting them over VWAP. And then I actually didn't get filled at 18 here, the previous high. And it can go to a price level and print shares, but it can print shares on a gateway that you're not sitting on. And if that happens, then guess what? You don't get filled. That's how the market works, unfortunately. So now it's back under VWAP. I think the way this is trading, it might just have to be a scalp inside of this range. And if it breaks a low, fantastic. I just had to change it up. We were shorting under VWAP for a big breakdown. Now we're going to short at and above VWAP for an inside trade where we'll just scalp inside. Risk 2 or 3 cents to try and make 5 or 6.
Yeah, no, I like that. I'm kind of, I guess, just looking for the next trade, man. I'm like, all right, cool. That IWM, maybe not the best decision to take off that post at 2235s. I was like, all right, well, maybe we're getting too aggressive. I got a little too excited and greedy, and I removed my sell order. And guess what? We came slamming right back down into trip 2 halves as of right now. But we're holding this trip 2 halves quite well, potentially for a higher low here. But again, bigger picture, we wick the pre-market. We're trending below. We're trading below VWAP as well. Maybe I should be looking to get short a little bit better of a perspective here. And we all are also trading below those prior levels as well. Where were those 224s? So we're trading below those 224s. That 224 is confluencing right now with VWAP being just a little bit underneath that level here. Waste management still trading under or consolidating underneath VWAP as of right now. This thing has done about 640K volume, so nothing too crazy just yet. Again, maybe lunchtime. I guess it's almost lunchtime. It's 10:54 here on the day. Been about an hour and a half of trading there.
They haven't told us what's for lunch, though.
Do we know what's for lunch?
They have not. I have not gotten the email.
Mystery lunch.
It's a mystery lunch today, although it's not a mystery for me. I'm gonna be eating salad for sure. Mystery schlop it might be, or slop. Ooh. I like schlop more than slop. Schlop, it's it's beautiful, lovely with a cherry on top. It tastes pretty good. But I'll be eating that salad anyways. We'll probably having chicken. A good dollar says you're eating chicken for lunch today. Only because that's pretty much what it is every single day this week. I love getting that lunch.
Protein.
But there's a couple of things we haven't necessarily talked about. I was just asked in the chat, can you look at Meta? And so I don't mind. You see what Nvidia is doing, trend down. That's why we liked it. There was that reversal on Alphabet, which made a lot of sense. So this is Meta today. Break of the high, then 465. 465, 465, over and over again with a 460 bottom. So it's a very clean channel. Now it's trying to hold on to VWAP. So there's obviously 2 trades you can do here. Short 465, 3 trades. Short VWAP, long 460. I'm not sure what else you would do with a stock, which is this much of an inside day. The thing about it from a higher time frame is it looked pretty darn bullish without that wick. If not for that wick, you'd say it's holding on to the previous support is that previous resistance. It should be grinding higher. But no, it did reject that high. So I don't think you want to make a decision there. I think you want to make decisions at 60 and 65 and then leave it at that. We only have about 3 minutes to go, everybody. And it's it's hilarious that like the first thing that I got into is the last thing that we're still in, and it's finally starting to go. And obviously, you know, we talk about this all the time. It's not always going to be perfect. If Ford hits $11 today, I will remember that I had it at 24. I had it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give it to the pre-market eye, although I might have misplaced this stop because I actually got filled at 26, not 27, which shouldn't have happened. Like, if my stop is on a break of here, the fact that I actually got filled at 26 leads me to believe that I got a bad fill. That's just bad luck. We reshorted it, and we're able to get that one to the downside. We'll head on over to those chip names. I feel like if we're just going to stair step down, next available pop, AMD, Nvidia, and ARM, although in ARM, that has resulted in no executions for me. We've had AMD and Nvidia short several times today. I haven't had a single execution in ARM despite paying for the locates. But it's still under 150, which means it's still in the go zone.
Yeah, no, I think, again, pretty muted morning. There were definitely some scalps around. There was definitely some directional trades. We talk about, I guess, Tesla was straight to the downside. And again, if you had some of these scalps off of the economic numbers there, you got wicks to both sides for quick kind of moves there. But Spider's trading within its opening range, man. You can see the ES here, right here. Still hasn't really done too much, wicking to the upside, wicking to the downside, but nothing too crazy. But yeah, I'll kind of have the chat open. Let us know what you guys are trading throughout the day. Actually, you know what is nice, Neil? That Google, that reversion on Google. You were talking about that breakout. It is still going, man. It's still holding that strength.
It's Google.
It is pushing a little bit higher. What is the opening price? Opening price right underneath that 167. We're trading about half a point away from that on Google. Let's take a quick look at some of these semis here. Is anything turning? Is anything curling? Is anything doing anything significant? And I think ARM, and you're already kind of on that one. ARM was decent off of the open there, but nothing else really. I guess Nvidia short has been working, but that's still straight shop. 15-minute prior bars have not been violated since the open, prior bar highs, which is an interesting look as well. Let's see some of these earnings day 1, day 2 plays. We were talking about that DXCM as well. So I got that up here on a different chart. Not really doing too much, still within the opening 15-minute opening range on DXCM, but slow little downtrend as well. What else did we have? We had AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca pretty much gave up all of its gains on the day here. You can pull it up as well. Let me just pull up an AZN and take a look at that. A little bit of strength. So that continuation did happen off of yesterday's earnings day 1, but then you kind of give it all back up and you're trading near day low as of right now. Ford, nothing really too crazy, man. We are consolidating pretty tightly in between 11.20 and 11.10. So a 10-penny consolidation here. Bit of a range happening on Ford, which I am asking myself, should I just be chopping up the range and waiting for that range break to break and kind of just recycling and churning? I think
trade the market you're in, not the one you want to be.
Yes.
And you can want Ford to flush and go through 11 and all that kind of stuff, but if that's not what's happening, then it's a scalp trade inside. And I wish I'd done that a little bit earlier. But VKTX on a 70 break, that just happened, so I did get into it. But it's 11 o'clock. We'll be back. I'm pretty sure if this continues to run, Viking will be a topic of conversation as one of those types of runners with the professor and Adara. But it's time for Learn to Trade. Get that learn on. We've got a good one lined up for you. And I think exciting afternoon trade when we come back at 2 o'clock to end this volatile week. Go get them.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as that midday show. That in the pins or the stripes is your girl Adara, and I am Sharif. And we're gonna wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream as the dudes Obi and Neil killed it today. Absolutely fantastic show, guys. Thank you very much for that. Darwin, Matthew Booth. We got Botrix. Who's this person? Nader QA, we got Benson, we got Odyssey, TH, Scott H, what's up? We got Atif, we got Ron John and Ron EV as well. We got the Piper, Ronaldo, Picky Eater, Cesar Sandoval, and Rock Doc. Shout out to everybody there. King Jesus, what's up to you? Bora Hut. We got Picky Eater and Cass M, Glenn Smith, Adam DeLuce, Dragon, Adrian, and PC. Big Spal Burdette joining us as well. Dad Trader, Bob Dub, Donkey Trader, Randall Leger, as well as SM. Shout out to you, my man. Good morning, Adair.
Good morning. How are you today?
I cannot complain. Not bad.
Oh, I like that we're both in shorts today. We're both shorting. You know, I'm eating a burrito. You're eating an apple. Right now, I basically eyeing this earnings. This is what day 2 earnings for Chipotle. I might already be getting a little, instead of chopped up, chipped up in this name. I want to explain why I did this, though. So I like this look because we were below the 90 EMA. We rejected. I was like, okay, cool. Get involved. I waited. I was fairly patient. I was like, okay, great. I'm down to stay in this unless I see anything switch up here at this area we're at right now, 50-20s. Why is that of interest to me? Because that was a little bit of that previous low before the most recent low we got, right? So I'm like, if we push up above here, that's going to be a bad look for me. My issue yesterday with Chipotle, I got out of a trade that actually would have been almost $2 in the money. I got out negative on it because I didn't give myself enough room to run and I was overthinking it. Now I want to give it a bit more room to run. I'm actually willing to theoretically, and I say theoretically because I want to see what we do here, depending on how I feel about the book. I'm giving this to 50-20s to 50-30s, and I say that because that 50-30 area might be the actual to high. Look at how much we rejected this. Adara, patience can be patience. So I want to be cognizant. I want to wait and see what we do here. I like we're rejecting 50-20s right now. That's confirming my thesis. I'm doing a new thing where I just have the Tesla book up at all times because Tesla, I will only be book scalping when I see stuff I'm obsessed with, but you don't know what you're going to be obsessed with if you're not watching the book constantly. There will be less Tesla trades today. I'll be taking less of that and more of these earnings plays. But how's your Apple going?
Not bad. We're just chilling out right now, small position. So let's get to the lesson du jour. We are talking about common gaps all day. We're talking about common gaps today. We are going to be talking about gaps, though, into next week as well as we cover more topics there. So keep in touch for that if you are into that kind of thing. So just putting in my outs over here on Apple, as this one is a little too strong for my liking, so likely going to get stopped out. So we'll start off the day 0-1-0 if we do get stopped out over here. So let's talk about these common gaps. Traders, today we're focusing on the most frequent gap type, the common gap. While they might not be as dramatic as breakaway or exhaustion gaps, understanding them super important for our purposes as they are essential for effective technical analysis. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what are common gaps, essentially? Common gaps are, as the name suggests, the most frequent type of gap on a price chart. They occur due to various reasons, including news events, economic data releases, or simply market fluctuations. But unlike breakaway and exhaustion gaps, common gaps often fill relatively quickly. That's how you'll be able to detect them based upon others. And this is kind of what they are. Usually you find them within a consolidation range, and then they fill quite quickly. So the characteristics of the common gaps are as follows. Size and volume common gaps are typically exhibit a smaller price difference between the previous close and the opening price compared to other gap types. Additionally, trading volume accompanying common gaps is generally lower than the breakaway or exhaustion gaps. The gap fill speed, this is kind of the most identifiable part of common gaps, how quickly they get filled. So while not a definitive characteristic by any means, common gaps often fill within a shorter time frame, sometimes even within the same trading session. Their price action is also quite distinctive, unlike breakaway and exhaustion gaps, which often have significant price movements. Common gaps are followed by price action that tends to revert towards the previous price range.